This is the Primetime Royale, which we have Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. We got an amazing group of people, so we'll introduce them. We'll get started. All right, starting with Kyo-san. Kyo-san back at it. Kyo-san, a former stream queen, coming back to reclaim the title. It's been gone for a while, and we missed you, right? Hans needed to be kept in control, but you weren't here to do it.
Look, is the I don't recall. I'm still just going to say it. I don't recall losing my streak. I don't recall giving up any title. I don't know why you consistently say this word former, right? Because former implies I gave up the crown, all right? And I didn't. I won it 2 times, right? The first 2 times, the 2-time, right? And then I never gave it up. And then you just started having Prime Royales that I couldn't make, and decided that someone else was the champion. I don't. It's your show, your rules, Prime, I guess, but you know, bit fucking weird if you ask me.
Okay. All right. Those are big words. All right. So the title is still yours, you're saying. And someone else here has.
Yeah, Hans never won it.
Oh.
This 2-time Hans bullshit didn't happen. Okay.
All right. So so you're saying Hans and anyone else will have to pry it.
I'm saying they're all illegitimate. Okay.
Well, Hans didn't win.
It was rigged.
Didn't even illegitimately.
You didn't even have me as an option. I went and saw those polls. All right. I was doing stuff, but I went and looked at those polls. You didn't have me as an option on those polls. I'm the champion. Why wasn't I an option?
This roundtable evokes very strong emotional reactions.
It does actually, like
only when Hans is brought up.
Pretty much.
But even well, when Hans is brought up or on the panel, so so each one.
But Hans didn't illegitimately win last time. It was a new person, Sunny, who came in like a hurricane and crushed Hans. So, but yeah, thank you for being here, Kyo. You heard it here first.
Always lovely to be here.
Yeah, always. But apparently he's making a prediction that he will win. He will crush all the others. It's up to you, audience, to see if that prediction is going to be true. All right, so we will go to Katarana. Katarana, thank you for stopping by once again. Katarana has helped us last night with the neurodivergency panel, which was really great. Definitely interesting conversations, and yeah, again, we thank Katarana for being so kind as to help out the community, and then stop by here again today. How are you doing, Katarana?
I'm doing well. On the whole idea of Hans winning, I actually beat him on every part of that roundtable as well, and he only won because he riled up his Twitter followers, because he has more Twitter clout than me, but, you know, technically he's not a better debater. So I kind of like, I'll go ahead and just take that crown. He's not here to fight me on it. So we'll just say 1-time stream queen. Me and Kyo are wearing it together. Like, that's why we're right next to each other, because it fits over both of our heads. And yeah, and thank you for having me again. And yeah, ready to see who wins between me. Oh, you fucking bitch. Never mind. Have a nice day.
It wasn't me. I swear to God.
I love how I get left as well too. Prime showing the bias. I'm here for it, right? I'm here for a bias in my favor, but you know.
Okay, moving on. Hey, Ninetales. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks again for joining us at that panel yesterday. Ninetales, how you doing today?
I am doing so great. I'm currently streaming to my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Ninetales CosmicFox. We're going to pull in some amazing viewers and voters, because I just posted about this stream to Twitch. You know what's funny is I almost linked your stream, Prime. I almost gave up that like strategic advantage there. So I got to get used to this new streaming thing. I even had a little bit of technical difficulties beforehand, like a pro streamer. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. Lots of tough competition. At least one person here who goes by the name of Katarana is probably smarter than me, but I still haven't seen any confirmation from anybody else, although I love you all. Yeah, it's not really about winning for me either. I'm totally fine with just showing that I'm a better debater than you all. And if you win because you have more followers on your Twitch stream, have at it, champ.
So you mentioned a person, Katarana. What is this person on the panel? Let me see if I can find them. I don't see. I'm looking down. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Oh, that one at the bottom. That one, Katarana. Oh, yeah. I remember that one. Oh, yeah, she's pretty cool. But
She's a goddess. She's actually the stream goddess no matter what happens.
feel like a goddess would be at the top of the panel, but I don't know. But still,
No, goddesses are humble.
You're
So
trying
they're-
really hard, Prime.
Go buy some fucking lotion, okay?
Okay. All right. Next, we have Sansol joining us again. He was, I think, on Monday. Joined us for the Reverie.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
how's it fucking going? I am here to win, not just because I have more followers and more Twitter clout and Twitch clout, but because I'm also smarter than every single person on this panel, and I'm here to show that. So get fucked, everyone. I'm going to beat you all in debate while playing a video game because I don't even have to use 100% of my mental faculties for this. Let's fucking go.
Okay, all right.
Does anyone
Like
else
you're
smell
using
that?
100% of your mental faculties.
Somebody's been blowing some hot air out of their ass.
Oh, I love it. Strong words. Next, we have Maddie, who I'm always excited to be around. Maddie, a former stream queen herself, but apparently to kill illegitimate since it followed him. Maddie, who had been technically a 2-week a 2-week stream queen because we didn't have a Royale the next week afterwards. But anyway, doesn't matter. She had the title for 2 weeks, and I think it was well deserved. Maddie, thanks for being back.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, I mean, those are some strong words from Sansol about having the biggest Twitter following, because I feel like one of us is not only a stream queen, but also a Twitter queen.
I didn't
So
say
I hope
that I
you're
had
doing well in
more
that video
Twitter
game,
followers.
because that's
I
the
just
one
had.
win you're going to get today.
Alrighty.
But yeah, no, I'm so happy to be here. And I was so stoked when I saw the lineup. So yeah, it's going to be fun. And I I will say I don't care about winning, but know that I am lying.
Understood. We have Clavicus. Clavicus, who's one is an illustrious tier 3 sub, so gotta shout him out for that. But two has joined us in the past for various panels. Happy to have him here today. He's been a long time supporter of the channel, and yeah, thanks for being here, Clavicus.
Yeah, thanks. So I was in the Primetime Royale Alpha. I was booted off first round, so I am the opposite of all these winners here. I'm probably the biggest loser here. I'm probably dumber than everybody else, and that's okay. This time I brought a secret weapon. I've got the power of Kim Jong-un, and I think with the power of Juche, we can all band together and chat and defeat all these imperialists. So let's go.
Let's go. All right. Next we have Matt Ladd. Matt Ladd, thanks for stopping by once again. Yes, Matt Ladd has been joining us quite a few times actually, and we're always happy to have him around. Matt Ladd, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. It took me 40 hours to recover from my last appearance on your show. I didn't realize I was gonna be putting so much energy into it last time. So I bottled up my reserves for the last few hours. I'm ready to give it a full go. I was on your show. I was on this Royale thing once, and I got knocked out the first round. I'm hoping to not repeat that. But to compete with Sansol over there, he may be playing video games while we're doing this. I'm playing chess while we're doing this. Speaking of which, sign up for my chess classes. There's a thing there. I have a chess business, and I teach people chess, and I give free trials. So, like, if you want to learn how to play chess, that's
okay.
Yeah, if you want to learn how to play a game that hasn't had a significant rule change in like 1,000 years, go ahead and play that, and that's fine and all. But like, you could play a superior game, huh?
I don't know what game you're playing, but nobody cares about it like they do chess. I don't know.
I don't think anyone cares about
champion
chess.
of your
They just
game.
care about the hot girls that play chess on Twitch. All right, my friend.
I mean, it's the most popular game on Twitch. So why is that?
Like I said,
It's
And
not
definitely
Grand
chess is
Theft
definitely not the most popular
Classic.
game on Twitch.
I mean,
That's
like,
definitely
wait.
Fortnite. Like what?
I mean, bad takes all around, starting from the very beginning. Sansol,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
sorry, sir. I don't even have the same following you do, and I'm already reaming you. I feel bad.
oh yeah, you're
Okay.
totally
Alright.
reading me.
Okay,
go.
all right. Wick, what sexual act are you performing on your competitors?
Well, I'm going to treat them with respect, and before I ream them, I'm going to get their consent. But the powers of my rhetoric will enable me to draw that consent out from them. They will ask me for it. They will ask me for the beatdown, of which I am about to give to them rhetorically. Now, I do not have the Twitter following or the Twitch following that all of you do, but I see that speaks in my favor. I would say that speaks in my favor. And I'm going with the power of truth alone. And let's see if truth alone can carry me through. I'm not optimistic, but we'll see how it goes. I have been recently started streaming. You can check me out at twitch.tv/death of certainty. Death of certainty, all one word. So please come on, give me a follow. And I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to interact with all of you. And thanks.
Hey, thanks so much. Next we have Buckeye. Buckeye, who I have not talked to, and I had the pleasure of meeting previously, joining us here for the first time. Buckeye, please tell everyone about yourself.
You haven't talked to me. You don't know who I am. I just drop into your channel and drop subs. I dropped subs on Maddie.
Yes, you did.
Who else have I dropped? I
Buckeye.
dropped subs on Sansel. I just come through
Nice.
just dropping subs. No, I am new to the Twitch community. I'm new to the this world we call civilian life. I do have a channel. It's Fat Buckeye 76, common spelling. And it's actually the 76 are the numbers, not spelled out. I guess I am new. I guess I should have clarified that. Anyway, as you can see from my introduction, this is how the rest of the night's gonna go. Hopefully not. I'm a single father of 2 toddlers, so I have to wear headphones when I watch you guys. So if I'm like this, it's because I'm listening to make sure they're still alive.
Fair enough.
If I miss something, I apologize. I'm here to learn and grow, and I have a I don't know. I definitely don't consider myself a Democrat, but I don't consider myself a Republican. I try to stay centered. Maddie and I have talked, I think, before, been on a panel before, and Sansel and I have talked before. But I'm not real. I don't want to say critical, because I am critical of people's ideas when they're not. I don't feel that they're well thought out. But I'm not an asshole. So I just try to get people to think outside the box, so to speak. So, but I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Prime. And I have I now have 21 followers, and I streamed for 9 hours today.
Nice work. You hear
It's a
that,
marathon.
Mad Lad? He's not an asshole. That means it's physically impossible to ream him. So you have to look for someone else. All right, moving on. Oh, hey, we have a person, Katarana. I'm not sure we've met before.
Suck my ass.
Okay, all right. Matt Latin, that's a target for you right there. All right, moving on. Okay, so for the individuals here who may not have been part of the Royale previously, rules are really simple. We'll have multiple rounds. We'll give you a topic, and the rounds are varying lengths. We'll give you a topic. You'll talk about the topic, and you'll try to be interesting or funny or whatever it is, right? But just talk about it to the best of your ability. At the end of the round, our audience, our amazing audience here, will vote. We'll vote on who they find the most interesting and want to keep around, right? So be voting for who's their favorite, not who the person they want to kick, right? Who they want to keep, not who they want to kick. After that, we'll do an elimination where our top vote getters will be able to choose among the bottom vote getters as to who gets tossed, right? Might sound a little complicated, but it's actually quite simple, and you'll pick it up as you go along. The most important part is to just do your best during these rounds and argue your points well, right? So, we will get started. First topic. Would a benign one-world government ever be preferable? Right? So, a government that's, took control of the world, but like was a nicer and gentler government. Would it be preferable if we just had one government covering ruling the entire planet? We have 45 minutes left on the clock. Jump into it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'll get the first take on
All
this
right.
real quick. Well, a benign government, surely, if we could ensure that there was a one world government that was benign and stayed benign, then yes, I think to answer that question, it would be preferable. However, I do not think that such a thing would be feasible. I don't think it's something that would actually stay benign. As soon as you have a single entity running the show, you're going to have a lot of conflict. You're going to have a lot of problems. People are going to feel disenfranchised. People are going to feel like their voices aren't being heard, and I think it's going to have a lot of knock-on negative effects overall. So
Describing a
yeah.
government. You're describing exactly what a government deals with regularly anyway. And I would actually argue that, and you've heard me say this already,
Yes,
that
we
a
discussed this
one
earlier.
world government is inevitable. As we become more globalist, as we work together internationally over the next 500 to 1,000 years, I feel like that's what's going to happen. It's inevitable. That's why there's a European Union. That's why
Is
Germany
it inevitable?
formed.
Like Israel is as nationalist as ever. Like I have like the most,
Sure,
like
but they
definitely.
depend
Like
on the rest of the
I
world.
deviate from the most from probably anybody on here. Like I don't think humans are smart enough to govern ourselves. I don't think we're socially cohesive enough to operate
Well,
on
then
a
there might be
scale.
an
Just
AI
I'm doing my turn. I don't think they're cohesive enough to operate on a scale where like we're always going to act in our best interests. But I do trust people who have invested their entire lives into studying certain components of human life. And I trust them to make decisions based on information and their own expertise. Now, I don't think that they're always going to be free from bias or opinion or making the wrong choices. That's a much different statement. But I think that they're more effective in making informed choices than even politicians. So I want a one world technocratic system where the people who serve this are kind of like detached from the world, not like socially, but more so like they can't be like bribed and stuff like that by the general public. But I like honestly, I'm not even for it being benign. Benign is just like a condition I'm okay with if we can make it work. But I do think we need this if humans are going to evolve past the current problems like climate change and stuff facing us.
So to be clear, you're for an elitist, violently suppressive government. Is what you were actually
It's
advocating?
a very selective form of
Wow, you must have
elitism,
heard
though.
something different than
What
I
is
It's
did.
a very selective
Well,
form of elitism.
Well, you talk about technocracy.
Intrinsically, it is because the people that would be
Yeah,
in charge would
technocracy-
be the elites of that society if they're not elected by the people. If you have no way to just be elected by your peers into that system, then those people would be just, basically philosopher kings.
I don't know where this no way part is coming from.
I mean, if it's a
Well,
benign world government,
if you're saying that people inherently don't have the ability to govern themselves, then you're implying that there would be no democracy in this system, right?
What system
No,
is the
you're
world
making a
government?
logical leap for me. All I'm saying is that people shouldn't be able to pick politicians who aren't informed on the subjects that they govern over.
well, that sounds like a lot of elitism, though, and I think that
Sounds
is.
It
like
is
democracy.
elitism, but it's a
I think
selective
it's
form of
maybe-
elitism
How
that
do you
is
even
meritocratic
decide?
there's
towards
a
people.
distinction
Isn't
to
what
be made.
elitism is selective?
I think there's a distinction to be made from assuming that people can't shouldn't lead.
I guess that's a good point.
Who is still talking? Oh, I see. He's talking.
Sorry.
No, I think there's a distinction to be made for people that aren't knowledgeable versus people acting not in the best interest of the people, where they are 100% knowledgeable of what they're doing.
How do you create a system
Wait,
where you
so, like-
only elect people who are
So when-
knowledgeable and acting in the
No, but
best
that's-
interest?
So,
No, but
but
that's
like,
what I
if,
mean.
if,
That's
if
the
what you're
distinction
asking
I
is
was
about
trying to make.
accountability, if what you're
Yeah.
asking is about accountability, like the politicians have less accountability now because they can pretend like they didn't know any better. Look at Flint, Michigan, right? They just simply said like, "Oh, I just thought that this would be smarter, and I was too stupid." But no, like if you would have actually been trained in those fields of like multidisciplinary fields of which you had power and executive authority over, that clearly could like you wouldn't have at least had that plausible deniability there.
I mean, on the reverse of that, right? In a lot of these people we do have like a sort of pseudo technocracy, right? Where generally when you're electing people, you're electing their cabinets and their employees, right? Because they're the ones that get meritocratically picked for the most part, right? Like nothing's a perfect meritocracy. Everyone knows the saying like it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? There's a lot of that going on, but from what we understand, usually when you're looking at electing someone, you're also electing their broader body, right? So for example, like when you were electing Biden, it was pretty clear that you were also electing Janet Yellen to the secretary, right? So it seems like we already have some level of like pseudo technocracy. Would that be like cool in all world government? I like democracy. I like democracy a lot. Like I think democracy is pretty fucking bogus, right?
It's
I
ethically
don't know.
ideal, but is it manageable? I don't think it is manageable without a technocracy to hold it together.
It seems like we already have like a pseudo technocracy that's part of democracy, though.
Like we can have
Sorry.
both,
And, like,
right? Like it doesn't have to be one or the other.
So let's go to.
Well, and that's the thing is that people. Sorry.
Maddie, finish your point, and then we'll go to Katarana and Buckeye.
So as someone who's worked in the tech industry and sort of has a good understanding of AI, because that's what I assume is being implied, is that rather than leave things up to like humans to make decisions, that somehow there needs to be a technological component. I don't know
I'm
what
talking
exactly
about
you're
experts.
talking.
People who are experts in their
That's the thing, is that
field only
expertise-
being able
that's
to
the
apply
thing,
for government
expertise is-
jobs in those
But
fields.
expertise. So here's the interesting thing, and I there's actually this great video about this, is that people who are experts in a specific field, that does not necessarily translate to good judgment and expertise that reaches across to other fields. That's
Yeah, I
why
agree.
people who are like Ben Carson is a fantastic example. As a brain surgeon, he is incredible. He is one of the best brain surgeons in the world. When it comes to his political instincts, they are garbage.
But
So,
that's because
like,
he didn't
to
have
assume
like
that
a
someone who has an
position in
expertise
office
in
that had
one
anything to do
area,
with. He didn't have a
what I'm
position in
saying is,
office
like,
to do
relying on
anything to
experts
do with
is
brain
such a
surgery.
broad statement that is hard to then like distill down and be like, well, what does that exactly mean? What does that role? What do their roles play then? So you only say stay in your lane.
So
Like, what does
So
that
there's a-
mean?
yeah.
So let's go to
So
let's
like,
go
here's
to
a-
let's go to
here's a good example. Okay.
Hold on. Let's go to Katarana, Buckeye, Matt Latin, Clav, and then Wick.
Yeah, so in a proper technocracy, like Ben Carson would have been put somewhere where he should have actually been. They just said, "Hey, you're black, urban, go have fun." My advocacy is more for like a benign one world government technocracy for the sole purpose of like I don't believe that democracy is something that works in every country for the sole purpose of not every country has everybody educated enough to read policy. So like where I'm from, there's like a 60% illiteracy rate. We have democracy. No one can read the policies. So it's literally whoever goes ahead and just gives enough money to people to run parties in the street, that's who wins. That's exactly how the last president of my home country won. He just gave a lot of money for parties. Now he's president. So I think like benign world government is definitely necessary for a proper kind of dealing with the current issues that are going out, because us as a species right now, when we're forming government, it's really like the policies that they go ahead and enact are not really in the best interest of us as a species, and we think too much along these borders. And at the end of the day, all we need is just for us to keep on like existing. Like it doesn't fucking matter what's within your border. Do we want to go ahead and live? That's like these stupid arbitrary borders are dumb as shit. So one world government would be important to me, because at the end of the day, all these different types of global south countries are constantly disenfranchised because we don't have enough money. So essentially all we do is sit there and eat shit, which is super detrimental to actually propagating our species. So one world government would be a lot more ideal in my eyes.
Okay.
But we can conceive of a one world government that's benign, that makes totally neutral decisions, that doesn't benefit the global south in any like meaningful way, that could actually measurably harm them, right?
That's why it's benign, so they wouldn't harm.
Well, if it's neutral, there's no
I didn't say neutral.
there's no decision that a government can make that's not going to have some negative consequences. Even taxes, if they do positive things, there's going to be negative consequences of them too. Namely, you're going to take more money out of people's pockets, right? So you just have to do like a cost benefit analysis of things. And if they do a cost benefit analysis and they're just benign, totally neutral, right? Means that they might make some decisions that are going to harm people in the global south in favor of people in the global north, just because they're a neutral party. They're just there to govern and make decisions. It doesn't
Right
mean
now,
that
when
they
you're going ahead and talking about taxes, like that doesn't necessarily, once again, end up harming the global south, because if we have these proper tax brackets. Like we're in Canada, you don't get taxed if you make less than $11,000 a year. Well, luckily for you, my home country makes $2,000 a year per capita, so no one's getting taxed in my home country. Once again, it's still the global south that ends up having to go ahead and pay taxes, and then at the end of the day, people in the global south can go ahead and benefit from those taxes.
Sure,
So,
but I wasn't saying taxes as like the only example. We could look at things
What was
that
an
have to
example that
do
you
with.
gave?
We could give an example of something like global warming, where that we might decide that some amount of carbon in the atmosphere is worth losing the Maldives because of the economic output that it gives for the rest of the world, right? And that leaves no say for the people of the Maldives to say, hey, our country is going to be, or all of our land, because if we're having one world government, it wouldn't be a country.
If you go
Our
ahead
land
and
is going to
create
be fucking
kind
gone.
of like the UN, where you go ahead and have equal say from all of these different countries, the Maldives would be able to go ahead and say. It wouldn't just be
Yeah,
like,
the UN's
you know,
worked really
10
well
random.
so far.
I'm not saying that UN's not our government, right? They just sit there and talk shit and say, "Yep, we say you shouldn't do that," and other governments are like, "Yeah."
Well, then we get into
my ass.
then we
I
get into the
have
problem
a-
of like
to
all
be
the
fair,
small
you-
countries fucking over the countries that have way more people in them because of things that are going to fuck over the small countries, right?
Let's go.
I have a
Hold on. Finish your. If you want to respond to that, Colorado, good. Then we're going to Buckeye. Buckeye, Mad, Clav, Wick, Maddie.
I there's enough back and forth, so we can pass it on, and then I'll just interrupt other people.
Okay, Buckeye.
All right. I am unmuted, right?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, I just want to make sure. So I've lived in different countries, and I've been in an area where we instituted voting. And after this last election, I thought when I was there instituting voting, I was like, you know what? I'm so glad that the United States is not like this. I'm so glad that the United States voting system is not corrupted like this. And then we had this year, and I'm like, do we have, do we not have the same issues that these other countries have?
Absolutely
I
not.
think we don't have. Well, it's not to the extreme, but we do have some issues. All right, let's be honest. There's something
What issues
there.
are those? I'm curious.
Is it a major issue? That's not what that's not what the subject is. All right, I'm just trying to make a premise here. All right, there are issues there. There are issues here. There are issues in all kinds of other countries. Not everybody's happy with the way things go. Right. Well, whether it's voting or the laws or whatever, until people around the world start seeing eye to eye, there's no way that we're going to have one government rule everybody. And if we do have one to rule over everybody, who's it going to be? Because do you think that the citizens of the United States are going to let some ideas of some foreign countries come in and rule them? No. The citizens of the United States think we are free. We're free to make our own choices. We don't have to, to bow down to anybody. So it's going to be it would have to be very lethal and very deadly for a one world government to take over.
Let's go to.
I mean, that's why it's a hypothetical. There was no.
Yeah. No,
Whatever.
I get you.
Right?
Even if it was a benign idea, right? Even if it was a benign idea, in order for that takeover to happen, it would be deadly.
Be deadly at all. That's crazy. Okay, whatever. Is it my turn yet?
Yep,
Do I get to talk?
Yeah.
Oh, good, great. So Buckeye was the first person to actually address the subject, which is would there be a scenario where a benign one world government would be preferable, right? Like everybody's talking about what that one world government would be, and we have no idea what it would be. The question is, when would it be preferable? And it would have to be a situation, like Buckeye said, where everybody agreed on something. However, it doesn't have to be lethal. To get one world government right now, yeah, it'd have to be through force. But the way this would actually happen, the way it is actually going to happen, is through economic codependence. So the reason why Europe has a European Union, even though they've had thousands of years of war, don't shake your head. This is real. This is true. They've had thousands of years of war, and all of a sudden there's a European Union, is because they're economically codependent on each other. So as the world gets more globalist and more codependent on each other, and all of our different cultures start unifying, you will get a benign one world government. It's just how this works. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a technocracy or a democracy or some sort of dictatorship where the Maldives get sunk because, environments or whatever. I think what it's going to look like is completely foreign to us now because we're all very divided. But yes, there will be a time where a one world government will be preferable because everybody on the planet will have very similar interests and will agree willingly to join a one world government. That's my hot take.
Okay, let's go to Clav, Wick, Maddie. Anyone else? Ninetales?
So I guess I'm kind of saying the same thing, something kind of similar to what Mad Lad's saying here, but like, I still think like somebody who has economic control or there's like economic leverage, that's not necessarily benign. I guess maybe when we're talking about benign, we're just talking about like life threatening, but I just always thought benign was kind of like a threat in general. But to me, I think, and this is maybe even more idealistic, but the way this would have to work is for it to be benign and not threatening, and for this not to have abusive powers where like the wrong person gets a hold of the power and then starts to abuse it. It would have to be something like where the populace is actually different. So you have to have like a global you have to see a complete shift in how people are just globally, which is totally unrealistic. But like if you think about like, for example, on like a board game, you have rules that you're beholden to that you willingly follow, that nobody has to threaten you or force you to follow. You just follow them just simply because they are the rules. So if humanity was set up or if humanity had ideals where they would follow rules like that a governing one world body said, hey, you can't pollute into this river, you can't do this, and then they just went, oh, okay, well, those are the rules, therefore I won't, then something like that would work. But that's like totally unrealistic and pretty goofy. I didn't really understand like the question to that level, but yeah, that's the only way benign would work.
This is a 500-year project. This isn't like something
Well,
that's gonna happen tomorrow.
Wick, it's your
even with
turn.
that time,
It's your turn.
okay, even with that, let's look at the time scale of the question here, because I mean, so I can realistically think of a condition one day in the far distant future where maybe that's correct, but I don't think that's a very interesting question. Let's talk about in a more recent time scale, the next 100, 200, even 300 years. And again, I really want to push back against Mad Lad here, because this idea that this connectivity will naturally lead to cooperation is just I don't think supported. I mean, you can do it in
Concrete example.
regional. This works. Yeah, you of a region in the world that
Yeah.
this has worked in for now. I mean, but we're operating on such a small time scale here, and I really want to address again what Ninetales spoke about this technocracy. I think the idea that a technocracy would be in any way or shape or form benign is just ludicrous. In fact, having a one world government and having it be benign is just, again, ludicrous. Sansol brought up another good point about what happens when what's good for most people is going to be really, really shitty for the people in one certain area. Well, then
But that's why we have governments.
So Wick brought me up first. Can I respond to?
Right, but if you
saying
can't
something like that, you're saying that
separate
like
governments
governments
out,
just don't work in general because sometimes they make decisions that are against a group's interests. It's like, well, yeah, of course that's going to happen. Like,
okay, but when you talk on a world scale, you're exacerbating the problem. You've taken something that might happen in a specific region and putting into a worldwide problem. It's just going to exacerbate.
That's not statistically true, actually. Can I interject, please? Because that's not statistically true. That's not possible.
We will get to you quite soon. Mad Lad, I think Mad Lad was directly addressed, so you can finish responding and then we'll move on.
Right. So this is gonna be like really short, but like we're talking about regions, right? Europe as a whole is a region, true. But like prior to that, the regions looked a lot smaller because technology made regions smaller. So it was France and England and Germany, and that was like a region. Germany was a whole region of principalities that became economically codependent on each other and then unified. And then Europe as a whole became a bunch of countries that became economically codependent on each other and unified. And since we have a global economy that just got birthed within the last 40 years, what do you think is going to happen when everybody's codependent? I mean, it's just this is going to naturally occur, and it's not going to be some sort of
But we
crazy
can
invasion.
always see the negative effects. Like you
Yeah,
talk about
there's
that
going to be
naturally
negative
occurring, but then the question is
when
it going to be benign?
when an institution is forming. There are ups and downs. There are things that it takes fine tuning to get to the point where it's benign and not malevolent. So yeah, I think eventually you do get to benign. And I think eventually it is 500 years, even though it'd be more interesting to talk about 100 years. If we're being practical and realistic, then I'm going to use ever hard here because it's definitely a long-term thing and not a short-term thing. We're talking 500 years at the soonest and probably 1,000 years if we're being reasonable. But yes, this is an eventuality, and yes, it will be benign in nature because it has to be. There's no conquering the world unless you have technology sufficient to control, billions and billions of people.
Okay, let's move on to Maddie. And yeah.
Yeah, so before I have 2 points, and the first thing is I just want to address the idea that we should only reserve some and I know this is like a hypothetical world, right? That we should only reserve top posts or certain things to people deemed experts, or like have government representatives who are deemed experts. I think that's an inherently dangerous proposition because at least it's a dangerous proposition until there is true educational, economic, and social equity in society. Otherwise, that will essentially just be a pipeline for wealthy individuals to shoot to the top and remain in power. I think, if we think about, well, if that were in place today, what would it look like? That would be a world where AOC wouldn't be sitting on important panels. A lot of our elected representatives wouldn't. And I also worry that having that instituted would completely shut out the middle class and working class from having any sort of meaningful seat at the table. So while I want experts to have a much greater influence in the decision making, especially when it pertains to like these specific subjects and areas of expertise, like scientists, like doctors, I think it's critical, and I'd like to see more of those people serve in government. But I hesitate to then extend that further and make it so that they are the only people who can be at a certain post or have like the bulk of the decision making process or like decision making power. That's where I hesitate a little bit in terms of if I think the one world government is an eventuality. I don't necessarily think so, and I think if it is, it's way far off. And I think something I'd love to see if we could be like Star Trek, that would be killer. When people ask me like what would be your utopian, like your socialist utopia, I'm like, watch Star Trek. That would be my utopia. But like, I don't know if it's reasonably I don't know if that's a reasonable like prediction. But then again, there are plenty of technologies that are available now that people even 50 years ago couldn't conceive of. So maybe it's just a lack of my own imagination or why I can't feasibly conceive of something like that coming to be, at least in the next like 5 lifetimes.
Can I put on something, or do you want to still just go?
Let's go to 9 and Kyo, and then after that we can open up a bit more. All right, 9.
Yeah, so I have 2 points here, 2 people to address. So if the first person ends up interjecting, I will want to come back to the second point. So I don't think globalism is rising. I think if anything, nationalist sentiment is rising. Look at like the rise of and success of Zionists, for example, in Israel. I'd also say that like individualist marketing has taken hold in Western marketplaces, the marketplaces of Western countries. So I definitely think that like maybe it like individualistic an individualistic sense of self pushes back on globalism and encourages a sense of nationalism. And just generally speaking, I would say that like the globalism that you're talking about is more like organizational efforts rather than like an effort like a change that we see within nations. As far as Wick saying that like a global government is just going to exacerbate the problems of smaller government, that's statistically impossible. Because what happens is if we have one single government, there's a certain amount of decisions that can be made per day. And you might think of it as like, well, there's more people being governed, stuff like that. No, because when we have a fractured nationalistic set of governments, more bad decisions and more different decisions can be made within a single day. So therefore, a global government is actually a buffer, kind of like a low pass filter where like these rapid fire decisions or like differences in decisions that can be made between countries are more regulated and evened out.
All right.
Okay, so like I just want to make a quick point on the idea of globalism versus nationalism. Globalism is absolutely on the rise. We're seeing more countries and more intertwined, and bringing up incredibly nationalist countries like Israel, which is an incredibly small part of the Middle East, isn't necessarily counter that. But even if we look at Israel, right, one of the things that's defined the Netanyahu government is the fact that Netanyahu has been so willing to work with other nations who would be against necessarily his natural interests, right? There have been several points at which we pointed out that Netanyahu has been willing to work with globalist, genocide-denying leaders around the world and people who would be against Jewish interests necessarily, right, to entrench his regime, right? Like
the globalist
Netanyahu himself, as a massive nationalist, is a globalist because one of the things that defines Israel is the fact that they have other nations necessarily protecting them as well and doing trade with them. One of the things that everyone points out is like, unless the US, pardon?
The key point is the trade, right? Because you said that Israel is willing to do globalism if it serves their national interest. Now, no country can actually profit at all or like generate new revenue without more exports than imports. Okay, so they're going to have to like globalist trade is not the same as globalist sentiment and globalist governments. So like if you can find me some sort of statistic that globalist sentiment or globalist governing policies are becoming more normal rather than just trade because trade's an exception. Every country is incentivized to do global trade.
What do you think globalism is, if not? What do you think globalism is, if not international linking via trade?
Definitely not just that. It would definitely be like changes of policies that also incorporate policies from other countries. The EU is actually kind of a good example in that sense, but they also fail. But also like public sentiment. Do people lean towards nationalism, or do they see themselves as a collective of the planet? Like it can be more than just one thing. There's a distinction
between cosmopolitanism and nationalism, not globalism. Globalism is specifically defined by global trade.
So people can't have nationalistic ideology; they can only have cosmopolitan ideologies, according to you.
No, that's not what I said at all. I said that if you're talking about some kind of like opposing sliding scale, right, about what would be the polar opposite of nationalism, it would be cosmopolitanism, not globalism, right? You could have nationalistic sentiment on the rise and usually entailed in that is some level of isolationism.
Just because it makes you sound smarter, to be honest.
I can solve this real quick, actually. This is actually a really easy thing to solve. If I can go real quick. Are you done, Keo?
Your hand emoji was not obvious. It's totally fine.
Cool, great. So this whole nationalism versus globalism.
Wait, one second before we move on. Just to be really clear, the dictionary definition, right, is the operational planning of economic and foreign policy on a global scale. And globalism also refers to the various scopes beyond the merely international. As a political scientist, attempts to understand all interconnections of the modern world and highlights the patterns that are underneath them. Right.
So what does a globalist foreign policy look like? Does it look like the nation serving its own self-interest, or does it look like a nation serving the collective?
It usually looks up the ability. So it usually looks like the ability to have high levels of like immigration, opening up trade. The opposite, like tariffs would be the opposite of this. So lowering tariffs, for example, or removing tariffs would be like an example of a globalist policy. Making it easy for people to come in and come out.
You can tell me that we're seeing more and more globalist economics. I'm just trying to push things along. You can tell me that we're seeing more and more globalist policies in economics. That's fine. But globalist sentiment and actual like governments doing things that slowly lose the borders and we see a one world government, it's just not happening. I'm sorry. And this is also like a good explanation of how globalism isn't going to turn into a one world government.
Everyone else, you can jump in. We have like 17 minutes left, so make sure you can.
The one thing I want to say. The one thing I want to say is that you guys are all talking about money. All right, when money might make the world go round, but money is not the number one issue with with globalism. Right, the number one issue with globalism is religion, because people will go to their graves for their religion. You have wars that have been hundreds of years old in the Middle East right now over religion. And if you can't get those two people to, if you guys can't get those two people to agree, you'll never have a global leadership. You'll never have a one world idea. Gene Roddenberry could have written it in I don't know how many stories. He could have written it in how many stories he wanted to. All right. He wrote the transcorders came up, and look, we had flip phones. cell phones one day,
I'm
and
gonna
so
miss
I
that.
won't
Great
say that it
question
will
for you.
never
Hey,
happen.
Buck-
But what I'm going to
Buckeye,
say is you
Buckeye,
guys are
Buckeye.
missing the mark because people will
No.
die for their religion.
Bucky, I have a question for you. Do you think that increasing trade between nations will help religious factionalism increase or decrease? So if trade opened up between nations with severe religious differences, do you think that would bring the people closer together or make them hate each other more?
I think when it comes to the Muslim and the Jewish faiths, that no amount of money will ever bring them together. It will
I
only
disagree.
be their
I highly
religious
disagree.
leaders.
And like throughout history, that's
I'm
not true
sorry.
at all.
I'm sorry, like the way that wars go, like sure, that's a war that's like Muslim versus Jewish, but like there's also ethno-cultural wars. There's wars between other religions. Like just because there's a war between religions in the Middle East doesn't mean every other war that goes on is because of religion. So like sure, that is like a particular reason.
Yeah, you're
but
missing my
I don't-
point
To be
completely.
clear, you're
Rhonda.
you're
I don't
ignoring like an
I
entire
gave one
tenet.
example. I gave one
You're
example.
ignoring an entire
That's the
tenet
only
of
thing I was
Islam.
doing.
If you talk about like there being inherent tension between like Jews and Islamic people, right? There's literal like in the entire history of Muhammad, right? He specifically advocated for the Jewish people being parts of Islam to be considered as part of their brothers, and most Jewish people consider this, right? Not Jewish people, sorry. Most Muslim people consider this, right? That it's already a part of their faith. Now there's like other tenets because obviously later on in his life, Muhammad had to go to war against the Jews. So there's other parts of it, right? But that was more of a nationalistic trade level area settlement, but specifically within the Islamic religion, it's tied in there that they're their Abrahamic brothers and sisters, right? They're actually pretty close. The Abrahamic religions tend to come a little bit tighter than the other ones.
Yeah, as far as like globalism,
I just gave an
goes,
example.
We have religious
think, like-
wars. But,
Yeah,
like,
but
examples
the
count.
worst example you could
But
have
I
given.
do
It was
think, like,
the
the
opposing
idea-
example to your point.
I do think the idea of like religion potentially posing some like a significant barrier, at least, and when we think about like, well, how do we want like how presumably would the world fall under one government? Like trade agreements is one thing, but then to like essentially cede control over certain decision making to like certain powers, I think that
Oh, and
that is a
by the
valid
way, like
point.
Alex,
I don't think
I
it's what-
totally agree with
yeah.
you. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was muted.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I've
There are
done
so
it
many-
before. It's okay.
Maddie,
Yeah, there are so many
Maddie,
obstacles. There are so many
Maddie, finish your
obstacles.
point. I'm not sure you got to finish your point.
No, all I was saying is that I think while I don't know that it would manifest in the way that with how like Buckeye verbalized it, I do think it's a decent point to be made in that religion would be something that could potentially be a major barrier and cause conflict within. I mean, it causes conflict within our own government for like who goes with where you have to kind of cosplay as like a devout Christian, like and especially to get a large swath of the certain vote. So especially if whatever this benign central government would be, if it had any sort of democratic system where your officials were elected, I think there would still be a religious component to consider, especially with how important and central to people's lives religion is in a lot of areas of the world.
There's
I'd like to
a
talk about
million
one more
things that are going to be a
obstacle.
factor, though, right? There's going to be economic factor. You can go.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
fine. whatever.
Clav.
No, it's
Clav,
okay.
hold
Go,
on,
go,
Clav,
go, go.
Yeah, there's a million things that are going to be factors. Of course, there's going to be religious factors. There's going to be poverty and money and everything too. There's going to be borders. There's going to be immigration. There's going to be a million different things that are going to be obstacles to it. So really, I guess what the more interesting question then is would a government solve some of those issues? Could a world government actually be a more objective way or a more fair way? Let's go with fair. A more fair way to actually resolve these issues peacefully rather than with a shitload of bloodshed.
Well, that's
Okay,
why I
so
keep on
I
bringing
wanna-
up
I
Israel.
wanna
Can I speak,
Okay,
please?
just
Can I
real
quickly
quickly, if I
say
could just
something?
real-
I just want to quickly say because this relates to what he said. That's why I keep on bringing up Israel because that's what Israel is afraid of. Israel wants their own, and especially Zionists. Zionists want their own nation state so they can be their own judge and jury and executioner against the Palestinian people. If there is a one world government, and I argue it's
What's on its
not good enough if it's benign. If there is a one world government, that would be Israel's worst enemy at that point.
Okay, so I just want to talk about the benign part, especially because PrimeCayes and Clavicatus brought up all these obstacles, and I don't think at this point in the foreseeable future, again, we're talking 500,000 years out here, until we get to there, the only way we can establish a one world government is through violence. There will be violence.
Well,
And
we
once
wouldn't
you
do
go
that.
down that road, once you start with violence, you have to keep it up.
There's no
There's a
benefit
lot
to
of
There's
goodness
already
in
violence?
keeping it up.
Benevolent
There's
dictator.
no
That's easy.
benefit to a one world government if you
I'm
have to
great.
do violence. Additionally, I really need
There's
to.
already violence. You'd have to be ignoring, like,
Right.
the entire, like, global South. You'd have to be ignoring, like, everything that
I
even goes
understand
on.
there's already
It'd be blatant
violence,
violence.
but when we
right?
put the power in
So,
one hand in
this
one single
idea-
entity, it's just gonna be used as a oppressive
The
tool. We've
problem
seen
that
this.
we're having is that people that are arguing on the side of the one world government aren't assuming a benign one world government. They're assuming a benevolent one. And that's what this entire argument is hinging off of. That it's turning into it's going like a benign equals benevolent. Like they're going to
Not
just
true
like
at
solve
all.
all the
I'm
problems.
saying
instead
no,
of
I
being-
acknowledge benign very
I went
much
with
when I
very
started
benign.
talking about the situation. But the thing is when we're talking about benign, we're talking about like a fantasy world 500 years from now, right? But then when you want to talk, so we all discuss that, and then when we're talking about like, oh, okay, well, what about like in the next 100 years? Then, well, yeah, it's not going to be necessarily so benign when it first starts, and that's something that Mad Lad had brought up. So there's two different conversations happening. It's not that it's not being recognized; you just might not be listening. But like, people are bringing it up.
Video game's very
I
important.
don't think like the rate at which this happens is fixed. I think it's what determines it is the rate at which we actually do reform and like dismantling institutions that are nationalistic within those countries. The more we do, the faster it happens. It's that simple.
Well, also, I want
I
to bring
agree
up the
with
point that the nationalism doesn't necessarily mean like if we're going more nationalist anyway, which I don't necessarily agree with. It wouldn't matter. Like if you look at 19th century Europe, everybody was nationalist, and it was a conservative reaction for 40 years of European history. And then all of a sudden, you have a unified Germany, right? Like Germany unified off of a conservative reaction. So just because things are going nationalist now does not mean that you can't have unification. And I also want to emphasize that the principalities of Germany had different religions. It was Catholics versus Protestants. And guess what still happened, Fat Buckeye? They still unified. They didn't care about the religion. So even though there was hundreds of years of religious strife between Protestants and Catholics, they still unified despite their religious differences because they were economically codependent. So,
I'm
like,
just
the
curious.
economics
Sorry,
mean
I was
everything
waiting for a
here.
chance.
Go ahead, Ninetail. Sorry.
Just curious for a consistency check. Would you say that Germany is globalist as like in the way it operates?
Currently, yeah,
it's
absolutely. It's
definitely
part of the
closer.
European Union.
It's
So-
closer than it had, like at least for the states. Like obviously their population wasn't really happy with it, but I thought it was really amicable about the amount of immigrants they went ahead and took during
Yeah,
the
so
mid 2000s.
I did have another
The
question.
citizens
though.
actually were
Just wanted to
big
point out
supporters
that
of
I'm
it.
glad you're consistent. I do have another question.
yeah.
I can ask him real quick.
Mad Lad brought
do
us
you
in
think
the same country.
But could I just quickly ask, do you think they would have been globalist had they not been needing to suck up to the world for the past 7 or 80 years?
Well, I mean,
I-
that's codependent,
I-
is it not?
Well, is it not just like at this point, like, are they still trying to make up for the 40s? Like, I totally would have gotten like.
They're
if the
avoiding
argument-
nationalism because they know nobody will take it well.
I mean,
I don't think that's
there's
the
a
only
difference-
reason. There's more reasons than that.
Yeah, I mean, like right
Oh.
now, let's say if
I'm not saying it's.
if Germany went ahead and did what England was doing right now, I don't think anybody would have been like, it's a return to the 40s. Like people.
No, I'm definitely not
okay.
saying that. I'm saying that we wouldn't be here with a globalist Germany if at some point they didn't have to suck up to the world.
Sure, but we are here now. This is where we're at, and the question is, will
Okay,
it
well that
continue
wasn't the point of my
forward?
argument.
Okay, fair.
I also kind of just want to make a bit of a distinction because well, he left, but maybe somebody else, if you agree with, can go ahead and say, what exactly is the distinction that you're trying to go ahead and make between benign and benevolent? Because I'm not saying that necessarily we're going to have a government that's going to go ahead and like, give every kid as soon as they come out of the womb a teddy bear, but like, what exactly, like, why is there this specific?
For the record, I just looked it up and they're synonymous. They're like synonymous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's
Assumed
what
as well.
that's
Okay,
what
thank you for
I thought.
asking this.
I mean,
what I
that's why,
thought.
that's why I get so sick of people who are like,
Thought it was
"Oh, where's
crazy.
the line? Where's the line?" when they're literally talking about something that's like blurred or like more of a Venn diagram than two separate
Yeah.
circles. It's
And-
like I can't stand this rhetoric.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like I there was a bit of this whole point when we went ahead and said, okay, if we go ahead and do this government, what if we go ahead and there's a policy that would be really great for the majority of the world, but Maldives dies. I think especially when most of the times it's going to come to the point of economics, I think a truly benign government will go ahead and say making $1 billion extra this year, killing 10 million people, kind of hard decision. Like I just don't see how this would even and how exactly would people be upset if they're like, no, put out more carbon. I don't give a fuck about the Maldives. Kill them fucking people. Sanctuary. Like I don't know. It's just.
But
I
that's the point, right? That's the point that there's. I don't think there's any reasonable way in the near future, even in the next 200 years, could possibly be benevolent or benign. Either way, it's going to cause a lot of harm because of the people who are in charge now. If we put a technocracy in place, they're going to ensure that they're still in charge. The leaders are still going to ensure they're in charge.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be technocracy then.
I just don't
That, like,
entirely understand why governments would go ahead and care so much about GDP if it gets to a point where, like, who fucking cares? Like, it's so arbitrary when you run everything, right?
Here's one thing.
Like,
so here's one thing that's being missed is that like GDP is usually a comparative figure. Is that because we live in like we live in a unipolar world, right? But for the sake of this conversation, I'll call it a multipolar world because it's multiple countries, right? Because we live in a multipolar world and nations are in competition. That's when they're worried about GDP, right? Like one of the things that one world government would solve is you wouldn't have areas in competition. So you wouldn't have to worry about comparative figures. You wouldn't have to worry about putting money into things. It's only there to deal with the fact that you're in competition, right?
So you guys got rid of COVID.
Research. Look, I'm eating Doritos, like the hot spicy Doritos, and I swallowed backwards. Okay, it's embarrassing. I was hoping we could all just move past it without me having to bring it up. But the thing is, right, GDP is like a comparative figure, right? If we're talking about like growth for growth's sake, right? One thing a one world government might incentivize, because you don't have competition incentives, you have other incentives, might be the case that like, hey, we can afford to take a hit on GDP if it means that we can put human lives first, right? Because we don't have these comparative incentives.
I mean, it could be that, or they could do like worse things.
Well, that's why I go ahead and ask.
This is why they're saying you're assuming benevolent.
No. What's the incentive? Why would they do worse things? What's the incentive?
Like if the people in power have their own personal objectives, like I mean, sure, but like
I mean, everyone wants to play God, right? Yeah.
Why do people care?
Yeah, like if you're not competing with anybody anymore, you're all one government, then you can actually go ahead and like just put in money into things for the sole purpose of like benefiting human life. Like there wouldn't be all these different countries that essentially, yes, Star Trek it up. Like there wouldn't be countries that are essentially like
I'm flipping too much here, but so you guys are saying this, but this doesn't necessarily have to be true, right? So if you're doing like a democracy, especially if there's a democracy, if you have like representatives of different countries or whatever that have voting power, then a majority of people could certainly oppress a minority of people. There's all kinds of things that you could do to abuse it. That's why the question requires it to be benign, so that you have a preference, so that you can reach preferable.
And that's the idea that comes
You want to say something?
Oh, Klavik has said exactly what I was going to say. There's like no way for us to possibly know how to split up any kind of representation. If it's not going to be a technocracy, if it's not going to be some kind of authoritarian government, it's going to be democracy. How do we split up the representation? Because then smaller, if it's just like a popular vote, then like all the small countries are going to be absolutely completely fucked. If it's going to be equal say, every single country now has equal say, then the larger countries get fucked. Like everything, we get into a problem there when we get into something on that scale.
What occurs in democracies now?
We can only talk about like regions,
representation.
Right?
What occurs in democracies now that allows minority representation? Why do we care so much about the quote black bloc? Why do we care so much about the elderly vote? Why do we care so much about the Hispanic vote?
Sorry, we don't use the term black bloc. I was confused.
Oh, sorry. That's for something else. Sorry, I apologize. But like, that's what I mean. Like, why do we care about these minority groups' votes? Well, because in larger democracies, right, you have unions forming, and you have these small hinge groups actually have like a strong weight when it comes to their vote, because people want to grab those people's votes in power, because these other ones will tend to coalesce anyway, right? Like they're the ones that generally direct policy towards.
Doesn't apply to trans people.
And that's where
that works out really well for black
is going to come forth. That's where the competition is going forth. It's not going to be it might not be economic competition, but there's 100% going to be a lot of incentives to stay in power, to keep your groups in power, even if it's a democracy. And so to act like competition just won't exist, they're going to, and the people in power are going to use these levers they have.
No, but the reason why
I can say with much
the reason why I
confidence.
brought up competition was specifically to talk about GDP, right?
Okay, but if we're going to open that door, we're going to enter that door. You understand that? If we're going to open that door, we're going to enter that door.
Your argument advocates against your position, because the whole thing with like minority groups is like a lot of times we're trying to fight for their rights and so that they're represented properly and that they're treated properly. And so the fact that they have like some voting power doesn't mean that they're being treated well, which was exactly the point of the
I'm going to say this much.
No, but the point is
interject.
about me saying it. Why I need to respond to some people. Come on, please.
You've responded quite a bit. Can I just say one thing? Is like, as a trans person, if it wasn't for the fact that cishet white people generally accept us and want us to be included in politics, we wouldn't be. The Democrats wouldn't give a shit about our existence. It's the acceptance of the majority that even makes us relevant politically.
I mean,
just before the timer runs out, like this whole idea of like, more affluent countries, like what about them? Like they're not going to get their say. Like we shouldn't even have a, more affluent versus unaffluent. I think we should all be on the same playing field. Like the fact that my country's weekly minimum wage is $5 a week doesn't make any fucking sense. I think like going ahead and having this government would really just escalate go ahead and lift up so many people's living situations and not have it so that like there's 80% unemployment rates in some countries. And the only reason why anybody makes money is because we're going ahead and making textiles and clothing for like your stupid fucking kids to wear. Like we need to go ahead and have a better system.
Time.
My stupid fucking kids. What?
In particular.
Okay. So that was our first round. What comes next? Is the audience. You'll be voting. I'm gonna put a poll in chat. I'll put a poll in chat. I don't know why I'm repeating literally everything I say. But you're gonna be voting for among these individuals who's going to be staying. Right. So audience members, 5 minutes on the clock, and you will be voting for which one of these individuals want to stay. Now, vote for whatever reason you want, right? Which one is most interesting, funniest, most beautiful, all right? Well, then Kill San runs away again with it. But
yeah, that wouldn't be fair.
But yeah, vote for whatever reason, but you're voting for which one of these individuals will stay, not kick, right? The one you want to keep around to the next round. Okay, and remember, and as if you were here last week and saw what happened, it actually matters whether you vote. All right, so actually do it and do it.
Yeah, so my 6 guys go vote for me.
Well, it actually matters if you vote, and especially within the time limit. Once the 5 minutes are up, I'm gonna refresh my page. It doesn't matter what's on your page; it matters what's on my page. So if you have not voted within that 5 minutes, I don't care. Don't argue with me. It's not going to work, all right? So you're tossing away your vote. So vote now. Don't vote later. Don't even bother, all right? So vote right now. Link is in chat. Everyone, jump in and vote, all right? No more crying, please. Link is in chat. Vote. 5 minutes left on the clock. And to Kill. Don't within the states anyway, right? States compete with each other, like even within a country.
That's true, yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, no, the reason why I brought up the competition thing was specifically when you're talking about like GDP, like people worry about like we must raise GDP at all costs, right? It's because like when you're competing in markets on a global scale, right? I think competition's good. Right? I'm a big market guy, love it to bits. But that being said, if you don't have those like the nationalist like comparison, right? The idea that one area could lose like stuff over others, and now this does still happen in a democracy, right? So you have the idea of like Amazon factories going to what? Okay. This does still happen in democracies, to be clear, right? Like say like Nebraska and California competing for like an Amazon factory, whatever the fuck, right? It still happens, but there's going to be more willingness, in my opinion anyway, if you have like a one world government, to put money into things that aren't necessarily going to make comparative returns to other nations and could make internal returns, things like creating like jobs or like training, like more so because like it seems like a money sink when you're talking about within a democracy in comparison to other ones when you could be like cutting taxes and making businesses more profitable. But when you're talking about like a one world government, what you might want to do is like you might have more incentives to increase taxes, to have like more money being able to spread, especially if you can push that money into a more unprofitable areas of your economy where you can get more returns more immediately. So for example, like the global south.
Okay. Yeah.
That's now. This is all theoretical, obviously, right? And I'm just like a fucking econ hobbyist, okay? So don't take my word as gospel, please.
I think the government should be like instead of a Washington D.C., they should do it in like where they have a whole island that's just the world government, and it's this like big, beautiful, like built up island fortress. And that will be like the world headquarters. And we need to make sure this is important for branding purposes. We need to make sure that our world government has a fucking cool name and like a cool insignia. Because if we're invaded by aliens, I don't want to like look like an asshole and look like we're not fucking cool.
Oh, by the way, Prime, really quickly, just for future polls, I have united my branding. I am now Kyosan AU across all platforms, finally. Stupid Twitch and its stupid fucking 2-month fucking lockout hasn't fucked me anymore. I'm ahead. I'm united on branding. I have the united branding, the fucking, what do you want? The holy grail of social media integration, okay? Just for future. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Maddie.
Oh, you didn't. I was meaning, so
can't even get a
that's
guy
okay
to
to cut
get
off.
branding together because of Twitch.
Mhm.
Jesus.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
Somebody messing it up.
Look, let's be honest. The likely branding we're gonna have for one world government is Amazon. That's just
Oh
True.
man, I got too real.
Amazon.
My argument
That hurts, and I hate it. But you're right.
Don't shit on Amazon, okay? Like it's because of them I can order my like very niche $30 coffee tools and have them here within 2 days, okay?
I thought you were gonna say your stock price would
It's
go
worth the human rights violation.
Speaking of Amazon,
Yeah.
subscribe.
It
my
fucking
coffee.
is, dude. People, I don't care if people have to piss in bottles. I get my coffee tools in 2 days.
Yeah,
To
I understand.
my
I get it.
audience, remember the links are in chat. The link is in chat to vote. If you have not done so yet, do so now. We have a minute left on the clock. Once that timer is up, then I'll refresh my page, and then I don't give a shit if you voted afterwards, because then it doesn't count. So do it right now. We would love to, and if you don't, then your favorite's going to be tossed, and it's going to be your fault, not anyone else's fault. So right this second, hurry up, take a moment, and vote right now. Vote right now. We have less than a minute left on the clock. Vote this second. Don't wait. All right.
Chat. Let me say this, okay? I can't see the poll right now. I'm assuming I'm losing, okay? Lend me your energy so we can have the greatest comeback story from Alpha Prime Royale last place to second place Prime Royale number, what is this? I don't know, 6 or something?
A lot more than that.
They're gonna write about it in the history books, and you will be
Come
part
give
of
me
history.
70
Be
votes!
on the right side.
Gary!
Come
here! I need someone to
Listen, have you guys spent time around toddlers? That is the right way.
I did too.
Vote for Dad.
Oh, hi.
Say vote for my dad. Tell him.
I am not getting my kids up for this. I'll totally. I mean, no, I'm not exploiting my children for this. You are exploiting children the same way that exploit their children to make
vote for my
Oh,
dad.
so cute.
I mean, adorable child, but you're still exploiting their cuteness. I don't know how I feel about this. This is like late stage capitalism at its finest. I just, I don't know.
Tell him.
Oh, look at those
It's real weird seeing like a kid.
10 times 10.
Real kid. It's a cute name, but like it's real. Every time I think of
You hear
Gary,
him?
I think of like some grown ass adult Pokemon trainer, not some like little child. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, look at those curls. I am obsessed.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
the dream.
You've got a beautiful child there, Black Eye, good-looking kid. So the voting is over. Vote is over. If you're voting now afterwards, then guess what? Your vote doesn't count. It's all your fault. So we will be going over our top vote getters, right? So Number 1, Maddie stands supreme. I love your poses. You pose all the time. Okay, you do this all the time.
Well, I do it. I do it when usually it's when things get really heated and I'm not involved with it, and like I just lose out, and so. And then I'm also just like a cartoon character.
Maddie's just the best. So happy that she's here.
I try really hard.
Guys, this is your last chance to vote for me. Come on. I've seen those votes go up at the end.
Unnecessary.
Wow.
Katarana, number 2. Katarana.
Yeah.
Nice work there. Coming in strong. Strong performance. All right. Now, looking at the bottom, we have 9 tails. 9 tails. Third from last. 9 tails. But Ninetales has like a bit of rallying, right? She has like she's been in the bottom before, but then like shot straight to the top right afterwards. So she can't be underestimated, I think. But she said something to us. I'm sure it was great, but she was me at the time, so it doesn't matter. Wick, Wick.
They're just too scared. Their voting blocks are just too scared. They know what's going to happen if I'm not.
I'm glad Wick always
Sure,
has.
my voting block made of wusses.
Yeah, I'm glad Wick always has like a good sense of humor about this all, because he's always in the bottom. I like you any which way, so all right. And then finally at the very bottom is a tier 3 sub. He should have been number 1, right? He contributes a lot to the channel. Tier 3 sub should always be number 1. That would be Clavicus. Okay, so those are our bottom 3. And now what will happen is, let me rearrange things, right?
Wait, you guys can make your appeals. You won't see me on screen, but I have my Bluetooth headphones and I have my phone, so I'll still be able to tell you whether or not I hate you.
Okay. She does hate you. Like, don't like that's sorry to spoil that for you. She actually does despise you all. Okay. So hold on. Just adjusting people here. 1 second. On the screen. One more time. There we go. There we go. All right. Nope. No. I had it. All right. There we go. Okay. Great. So now's the funnest part of the game, right? Where the people on the bottom beg the queens at the top, right, to stay. So Maddie and Katarana, they'll be DMing me who of these individuals they'll want to keep, right? Sorry, who needs to go, right? And they'll be begging me. Shut. All right, try it again. They'll be DMing me, telling me who the bottom 3.
Why am I on the bottom? I thought.
Okay, all right. And these 3 will have 30 seconds on the clock to beg Maddie and Katarana as to why they should not be thrown out. All right, Ninetales, go.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to make this complicated. So, like, Maddie, you're smart. You're going to vote me off because I'm good competition. Well, do it. No, please don't do that to yourself. You need to win. As far as Katarana goes, we're on really good terms. It'd be really weird if you voted me off, but it'd also be very strategic. So I wouldn't doubt that. But honestly, I have to plug Katarana because she's the reason I'm streaming right now. So can I use this shadow tag, or is that out your mods only?
It's mods only, but
okay. Well, someone shout her out for me, or else I'm just gonna post a link.
Okay.
But yeah, follow her stream because it's obviously better than mine, and yeah, she does a great job. So that's apparently me begging to stay.
Okay, all right. So reverse psychology for Maddie, and on your knees groveling for Katarana. Good strategy. All right. Wick. Why should former and maybe future stream queen Maddie keep you in her presence?
Well,
oh my god, I did that way wrong.
First of all,
Sorry.
I believe I bring a pleasant demeanor even when I disagree with people. I believe that my takes are intelligent, they spur discussion, and that keeping me in will boost your chances of winning. Because if you choose to keep me in, I can as much happened last time when I threw my support behind Ugly Pie, which launched her to victory. I too can act as a kingmaker or queenmaker in this case. So that is one reason to vote for me. Another reason is because, again, it's interesting to discuss with you and have this conversation. And this is, I think, the first time we've ever sat down and had a frank exchange of views. So I'd like to continue to do so.
Okay, all right.
So for Katarana, same thing. You're awesome. You're great. Vote for me. Vote Wick.
Oh, wait a minute. It's Clabs at the bottom. Why did I say put Mad Lab there? Sorry.
I mean, at the bottom, but it's all right.
I'm sorry. I got you mixed up. Clav, yes, Clav.
My audience is outraged. It's helping me.
Clav.
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
don't pick me because first of all, what Wick said was entirely false. I'm the least threatening person here. I was last place. Nobody even knows who I am, and I have a lot of controversial takes. I think I give a lot of pushback. You're going to need somebody to argue. You're going to need someone to dunk on for the future topics, and I'm going to be a great person to dunk on. So, yeah, very easy win if you keep me in.
I love these like beta arguments, like arguing for like, I'm not a threat. You can step on me. Like I worship the ground you walk on.
I don't worship the ground you walk on. Let's not go crazy. But I know what the numbers say, and the facts don't
I'll let
lie.
you humiliate. Don't vote for me.
Okie dokie. Katarana, Maddie, you'll be DMing me. Send a DM to me, private message to me, as to which of these individuals you want to toss. Send me one name of an individual you want to toss. And the other person who is not named will stay. Yep. Anytime now. Anytime.
Maybe this will go like the opposite of the last time, because like last time I got like a whole bunch of votes the first round, and then like none.
Okay. The votes are in. The votes. All right.
Getting ready to do something.
And the votes are unanimous. Both have chosen Clavicus. Specifically, Katarana says because you didn't say that you worshipped the ground that she walked on. For future people who are in that position, you know what she wants. Clav.
Can't beat up her.
But hey, Clav, hey, here's something interesting. Two people have to go. Right? So you're leaving, but you get to pick who among the other two is going with you. All right. So, among these individuals, among Wick, among Ninetails, right? Send me a DM. Which one of these people you want to go with you? Ninetails, why should he not pick you? And Wick, Ninetails first.
Well, my best argument is usually that I'm a huge threat and they should vote me off, and therefore I reverse psychology them. My threat to Clavicus means nothing, so I literally got nothing.
Okay. All right. Helpless. All right. So Wick, go ahead.
I throw myself upon your mercy, sir. You are a gentleman and a scholar, and I.
Okay, screw that. If he's doing the same thing as me, Wick is like such a beta fucking arguer. Like this guy couldn't even handle the basic statistics that I talked about. Keep someone on who knows about statistics, because we're talking about things that involve statistics next, and you probably want to enjoy this discussion, right, Clav? Okay.
Ninetails advocated for a tyrannical one-world government that she didn't. She specifically said, "I don't care if it's benign. I think it would be better if it's not benign." Do you want someone like that to continue to spout
It
their
probably
views?
is easier to figure out if you know how statistics work.
Okay. All right, Clav. Hopefully you got enough evidence.
Yeah, gosh.
And that was quick too. They didn't really think that over.
Yeah, no, it was hard, but one of them made an argument that specifically spoke to my soul, even though they didn't necessarily know that they did.
All right, Ninetails. You speak to people's souls because Wick is heading out. So Ninetails once again. This is what I'm telling you. Ninetails rallies somehow. She's very hard to get rid of it on this competition. She fights to the end. So
I win by charming the people who would vote me off, not the people who would vote for me.
Hey, it's a strategy. It's a strategy. One day it'll pay off. Okay.
I was gonna boot Wick, but then Ninetales brought up stats, and I'm a stat. Yeah, I have a stat degree. That's my field. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the appeal to stats.
Okay. All right. Well, Wick, tell everyone about yourself. Anything you want them to know. Last words before you go.
The last words. Well, all of you were rude the day. You did not keep me on. But no, seriously, I really enjoyed this. I always enjoy debating. I always enjoy putting my views out there. It's a fun rhetorical exercise. And so you can check me out if you like my takes, or if you dislike my takes and want to hate watch me. That's okay too. We don't discriminate. You can check me out at twitch.tv/deathofcertainty. I had Bad Lad on earlier today. We talked about history of political violence. It was a very interesting discussion. I've had Ugly Pie on and various other people. So yeah, come check me out. Thanks.
Where are you going to be tomorrow?
Oh, tomorrow Katarana's having me on actually too, for a debate panel. So whether you like me or not, I'm here. I guess I pop up everywhere. I'm like a virus or something. I don't know.
Thank you so much, Wick. Definitely appreciate having you here. You're always a lot of fun. I do appreciate you. Clav, I also appreciate you. Thank you for popping in and joining us. We'd love to have you back again. It's been a long time, more than 6 weeks. It's been a long time since we've had you on the Primetime Royale Alpha. Clav, tell us a little about yourself.
I don't stream. I don't really do much publicly. I just like to come in every once in a while, pop in and throw out some corrections on open panels or something here and there. The only thing I would say for a shout out is to sub to Prime. I appreciate you having me. Thanks for the invite, and appreciate everybody debating with me.
All right. Love to have you again in the future. Seriously. You're a lot of fun. Have a good one, my friend. All right. And then there were 7. Okay. Let's get started. Next topic, and we'll have 35 minutes left on the clock. I'm about to sneeze. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I'm definitely about to sneeze.
If you had an eagle sneeze, you wouldn't need to go ahead and stuff on you.
Okay. All right. There we go. Topic 2. In warfare, where the goal is to kill or intimidate the enemy, is there any functional difference between using chemical weapons and using conventional weapons? Should chemical weapons be banned? And if so, what steps should be taken if they are used? All right. 35 minutes left on the clock. Jump into it.
Definitely. So
about...
there's all sorts of things that we can look at. We can look at the fact that it is a more prolonged reaction. When someone comes into a hospital with who's been affected by this, they have to do more work to determine what they've been affected by. These things can be carried by the wind. Some chemical warfare agents are persistent, meaning they lay around and they can still affect people. They can get into the food, they can get into the water. They definitely infect the environment, and so do the antidote chemicals that they use to neutralize these chemicals. So cleaning it up is incredibly bad for the environment. And all of this is so that way states like the US can maintain their global hegemony.
So if we're talking about the recent use or alleged use, to be legally clear, of white phosphorus should absolutely be banned as a warfare use. We can't look at photos of it because we would be immediately banned from stream because of how horrific that chemical is in use of warfare. It literally burns to the bone. Burning through bone, right? That shit is fucked up. But Ninetales brought up a really good point about things like Agent Orange continually causing issues in the area that it's used in. Don't use it. It's bad. But white phosphorus, if this is what we're alleging to, is especially bad. It's a horrendous chemical. The problem is that while it is banned, I did see someone mention it in chat, right? Like a rule. What is a rule unenforced? Is that even a rule? I don't think it is, right? And if no one's enforcing the ban on chemical weapons, particularly white phosphorus.
Essentially, a treaty was signed to get rid of the weapons, but many countries are able to produce chemical weapons on the spot, even if they don't have stockpiles.
Yeah, white phosphorus is one that's especially easy to get a hold of because it's needed for industrial use.
Yeah, I don't think it should be banned, but what I'm trying to get to is more like I think all of these are really bad. Like if you're gonna kill someone, kill them with this, kill them with the other. It's both pretty shit no matter what. Like unless like I really think the whole idea where we go ahead and bomb areas that are civilian are pretty ass. So you know what? If you're gonna go ahead and just kill civilians, just make them suffer, I guess, if you're going to be so like fucking bad at going ahead and targeting what you're actually trying to target. So like I don't really.
It's not necessarily.
You agree that they're not
equivalent.
they're trying to
It's
target,
not-
right? You've got like terrorist groups like Hamas that hide among their civilians, right? Like it's not necessarily that easy.
Yeah,
I mean,
and like you're
we
at
don't
the
even
very
want
least you're
them
admitting
using
that there is a difference.
soldiers, right? Because the reason that we decided that these things are not to be used in warfare is because they're it's not even just chemical weapons. There are all sorts of weapons that aren't allowed to be used in warfare according to the Geneva Convention, like three-sided blades. Because if you stab someone with a three-sided blade, it creates this sucking wound that is very, very difficult to patch up, right? So just because it's a chemical weapon, that's not the only thing that can be taken out of warfare, right? We've kind of decided that these things are so egregious to human life and to the ability to fix them if someone survives an attack from them, that they're not something that we should be using to harm other people in warfare, right?
yeah, like I'm not saying that like I think people should have a miserable existence, but just more like I think no matter what, that the whole concept of war itself is really shit. So I say just use all bad things if we're gonna go ahead and like act in war. Like might as well just make sure that you go ahead and make the entire country unlivable, since we're just gonna kill civilians anyways. If everyone's gonna go ahead
You
and
think
take
that the
collateral
point of
damage,
warfare is
fine.
to kill other civilians, though?
I don't know. I don't think that's the point. But like every time that there is any form of war, there's always like the whole is the collateral damage worth it? And
Also,
then a lot of times
we
they're
try
like,
to
yep,
minimize
good
This
enough.
just doesn't
collateral
hold up
damage.
to like an ethical reality, right? So if like a stone's falling from the sky, right? We know that it's like more neutral as far as like whether or not it's evil. Like, I'm just gonna say evil to be very general. That it's more evil if someone threw it. Now the same thing applies for like just because like if people are suffering, that's bad. But if it's happening because of war, I'd say that's even worse. The fact that war is present doesn't alleviate these things; it exacerbates the ethical issues.
Maddie?
Yeah, well, I think another thing that's important to remember as well is that, especially following World War One and going into World War II, a lot of the reason why they decided to ban chemical weapons or chemical agents is because they were largely ineffective for actually attacking mass numbers of soldiers. And this is because soldiers could very easily be provided with masks. That is something that civilians wouldn't necessarily have access to. So I think one thing I consider when I think like, well, is it worse, like a bullet that rips through a body versus a chemical agent, is that for a military to provide their military people with something like some sort of protective gear that protects them from the effects of that chemical agent, that isn't something that can be widely distributed to civilians. And so I think in that case, like, I don't know. I could see why we would view it differently. Yes, you can have a bulletproof vest, but like that doesn't protect against all bullets. That doesn't protect against bombs. So it's almost like soldiers and civilians are equally at risk if the bomb's in a certain area. But when it comes to a chemical agent, that's disproportionately going to be harmful to people who don't have access to like protective gear.
I just
keep in mind that when we're
just
talking
like
about chemical agents, we're not just talking about the gases and stuff. That's all.
yeah,
Right, of course. Yeah, and that really only pertains to the gaseous ones. So that's fair.
Yeah, my thing is not like, oh, I think it's really okay to go ahead and like ruin like somebody's area permanently or like for the next 60 years because it's so like in chemicals that no one can ever live there. I'm more like saying that they're both really immoral to me. So like what's the difference in the whole morality of it? Whether or not you're going ahead and killing someone via their body exploding or
I understand, but you can't say that just because
effective.
something is immoral, it's equally as immoral as something else that's immoral. There's levels of things, right? You can't. It's not either bad or good. It's this thing
is
is
it
worse
really
than this.
is it really worse, or is it just we're so used to seeing war that like going ahead and having somebody's little like body just splattered across the ground is somehow different to us than just having them?
Worse for that person. It's not.
It's
Doesn't
better-
how bad it is doesn't change based on your perspective of things. It changes for the victims. So as it gets worse, the suffering and what the victims go through gets worse, even if your perspective doesn't change. Just because you see them both as being bad doesn't mean one can't be worse than the other.
Well, no, so it's not even about the victims having a worse experience. If someone is like suffering from chemical burns, for example, and they have to be hospitalized for 6 months to recover from those chemical burns, that actually is a greater cost to society. So like a chemical weapon can cause more harm to a country's ability to conduct warfare. That being said, there's also very unethical and should be banned, of course, and they are banned. The question though is how do we enforce? I want to kind of get into that because I think that's more of a relevant question here in terms of getting to the root of this issue. So I think, and I mean, this is going to be kind of strange, but going back to that whole one world government thing, I think if there was a unified international effort to ban chemical weapons and then hold other countries to those bans, that would be pretty important to do, right? So how do we get to that one world government? I think is sort of
within
the same
the last period of time, I guess, since it's been banned to now, has anyone gone ahead and used chemical warfare? Have people
Yeah, I
gone
mean,
ahead
Assad has.
Are you kidding me?
I'm asking. I'm asking. I'm not saying is it true. I'm asking. Like, I
Yeah,
wanted an
Assad used them
example.
against his
Syria?
citizens.
Civilians. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Okay,
I mean,
and what was
typically
and
about
what was
alleged use of white phosphorus, right?
and what was the reaction? Were people just like
Everyone
do
was
that?
super fucking mad.
But they really
did
didn't do
anything else
anything.
come out of it beyond don't do
The US
that?
really
bombed
didn't do
them in
anything.
retaliation. The US did
They
bomb them in
couldn't do a whole
retaliation to
lot,
that.
Yeah.
They literally entered. This is why when if you ever hear a Trump supporter say the US didn't enter any new wars under Trump, that's bullshit because they specifically went into Syria as a reaction to Assad using chemical weapons on their own civilians. The US, as a consequence of that one particularly, the US entered the Syrian civil war. The most recent one, the most recent alleged instance, is currently the use of white phosphorus in Palestine by Israel, who has used it before, and these accounts do seem to be credible that they are using it, although there hasn't been an independent investigation that has found that they've used it yet. So
was involved in
We
the
use
Syrian Civil War
Willie
before
Pete.
that, though, too.
What's wrong with using Willie Pete? What's the chemical
Why is that one
issue with
You have-
banned
you have
warfare?
to
Because
explain what it is.
it burns all the way down to the bone, right? And it's very, very hard to heal. It's hard to like fix that wound from especially like civilians when they're trying to bring people into hospitals. If you just like blanket an area in fucking white phosphorus, and they're fucking
that's as a
fucked.
result of the bombing, right? It's the white phosphorus inside the bombs.
No.
Well,
No,
they're
it's-
using
it's a
no,
chemical weapon.
they're yeah, it's the white phosphorus itself is used as the agent to attack people, as opposed to like as some like side consequence, if that's what you're asking.
yeah, so people will
Yeah,
cover it and
I
say
think
that
I'm
it's
asking
being
if
used
it's
as,
a
yeah,
side
they'll say it's being used as smoke, and then they'll use it in the bombs, right? They'll say no, we just meant to use it as smoke, guys, and it's really just a cover for bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't use. Yeah.
We used it.
I'm just going to
There's
point
no
out
war.
We
that
used
like
it.
I'm not stating something that's causative. This is more of a correlation, but like these weapons seem to be used a lot in places that are either committing a lot by countries that are either committing genocide or doing a genocide in their own country.
In the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia this past year, it looks like the what is it? Azerbaijan burned down a forest with white phosphorus. So it's being used, and there's no consequences. Apparently, we just kind of say no, don't do that. Finger shake.
Well,
but...
because we don't go down and like bomb the fuck out of every country that breaks international law doesn't mean that people don't care, right?
Okay, listen. This is what I'm trying to say. White phosphorus is not on the ban list. We use white phosphorus in our grenades. We use Willie Pete grenades.
Yeah, the Willie Pete grenades used for smoke, right?
Yeah, so the point is that when you have a weapon that's designed to distribute this chemical so that way it attacks a populace, that's illegal. But when we use it in a chemical plant, that's for the use of a chemical plant, not for warfare. They're called different uses.
It's kind of like how we use uranium to generate.
Yeah, no
like
shit. I
nuclear
didn't
power,
say that it
but,
was.
like,
It
it's
wasn't being used
also
differently. What I just said was it's not on the ban list. Listen to the words that I'm
As a
using.
chemical weapon, it
Words
is.
matter.
Wait, isn't
I
it?
said it
isn't
wasn't on the ban list. That's all I wanted to. That's all I wanted to get out there and to get understood.
It is and is not. So the white phosphorus is not allowed to be used if the intent of the use is for its toxic properties. It is, however, allowed to be used if it's to produce smoke, camouflage, movement. So yeah, it's a matter of the claim of what it's being used for versus what it's actually being used for.
Part of the reason being is it's incredibly difficult to ban or even regulate because of its necessary use in industrial industries, right? Because it's able to produce high heat. People use it in chemical changes and in, I think, like some level of welding or something from memory.
It's
been
an
a while since I
intermediate
looked
of
at
a
it.
lot of other compounds as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think
So
we
it's
all
actually-
agree that. All right, so we all agree that white phosphorus is bad. We all agree that chemical weapons are bad. Are we all on like the same page here?
Yeah.
Are we
I
on the same page on
I
how to
agree that it's bad, but more of my thing is like all of them are pretty bad. like
honestly, like
Yeah.
is that supposed to be a hot take or something?
No,
I'm sorry. Like I love
no,
you, Pat.
no,
You know it, but
they're
like that's really not that big of a deal.
So I mean, I guess the
But I
question
think
is
she's
like,
not equating like one over the other. Where it's
No,
like
I'm just saying everybody gets that they're both bad. Like injecting that take from discourse does nothing.
But her point seems to be that they're equally bad, which is just on its face wrong. Because
it doesn't hold up to
one,
ethical
But
reality.
that's the whole thing. It's like I just don't really see how there's really an ethical difference between entirely killing someone and splattering them on the pavement versus going ahead and causing them permanent lung damage.
Do you think humans value the last moments of our lives? Do you think like I want my grandma to enjoy the last moments of her life rather than be suffering throughout them? Do you think that's just like a normal human desire?
Yes, most people don't like living like with
Right.
terminal cancer for 12 months.
Right. So like
being
when
paid.
we look at how warfare and and weapons affect a population, we can definitely say that when someone's family member has suffered more through their death and that family member is aware of it, they will be more traumatized by that experience than like say if like and this is very relative, but like it's just a matter of empathy that like having to imagine the suffering of their loved ones will be more traumatizing than simply having to think about like, oh, they just died.
Yeah, okay, but the difference is like when you're when you're the opposing side, you don't care no matter what. Like let's say when everything when the opposing side cares about the suffering of the people that are the opposite side cares about how many people suffered as they died. I think
absolutely. If you have a populace, if you have a
modern
populace,
warfare,
yeah, if you have a populace and you like in a democracy like in the U.S. and it's found out that every single one of your soldiers is going over to the other country and finding every fucking person under the age of 10, cutting their fingernails off and then fucking think of an example that's not like super fucked up, cutting their fingernails off and then killing them, right? But not before like torturing them in that way. Most of your population is gonna be pretty fucking pissed off. So there is an incentive to be less fucking cruel with your weaponry, even in a domestic sense.
But at the same time, we also have a bunch of people that are okay with the fact that we go ahead and do prolonged suffering, like when we go ahead and have war criminals, like rather than just putting them in jail or just rather than just killing them, we go ahead and torture them for years, and everyone's like, very good. But it's exactly like NCIS. I'm so proud of you. Go America, so smart.
You guys are missing like the greater point. Like, yeah, in democracies, prying fingernails off of children would be, make a war unpopular, of course. But like in an authoritarian regime would care about suffering. But in the opposite direction, if you make your enemies suffer more and have to be taken care of in hospitals and fill hospital beds, then those hospital beds can't be used to treat other wounded, and it causes a greater effect on the society, right?
Yeah,
so,
and that's the whole point of war. You want to make sure that you're using up all their resources as much as possible. So
you're trying to take away the resources of the other person. So there's a lot of incentives for countries to use chemical weapons in that regard and in that direction. And suffering is also psychologically impactful. If you see a soldier who's come home with white phosphorus burns, you are not going to want to go out there and soldier because that looks awful, right? So like there's a lot of reasons. And I mean, it's not even just that. Like the ethical concerns go beyond that too. Like if someone's emotionally or physically scarred by the war, that has longer ramifications than just like the war itself. So yeah, there's a lot of fucked up things going on. With,
Also, this logic is just so reductionist. Like, there's more than just lives
Yeah.
going and suffering going on here. There's the environment. There's
Mhm.
people's lives going back to normal afterwards, which is greatly impacted. Like, all sorts of things are much more difficult when you use chemical weapons.
I mean, we can go in the next direction and say that life doesn't matter, and then everything will be fully reduced. But I mean, I guess that takes away from the whole point of this debate on some level.
Yeah, and more of the
Yeah.
thing is like I agree that at the end of the day, like it will end up harming that group more. I just kind of see it as like whenever you're the opposing sides, like you care so little about what the hell happens with them. Like you hope that their country's fucked. You hope people can't go back. You want to win this fucking war, like and all that stuff. So then at the end of the day, I just don't really see how like
Well,
it's
it
much
matters
of
though,
a-
right? Because then you have incentive to use chemical weapons. That's the whole point of using chemical weapons, right?
Yeah, so like
I mean,
the,
at the end of the day, I just kind
So
of
so it's
don't
different.
see much of a moral difference. Kind of like I really don't see what's the difference between like killing 100,000 civilians and killing 100,000 civilians via
Well, chemical
torture at
weapons
the
are
same
more
at the
Because
end
it
of the
doesn't
day.
necessarily kill them.
so-
It just makes their lives fucking horrible, both in that moment, like immediately afterwards. If they are able to get to a hospital, they could have like lung damage forever, and then afterwards, because it fucks up the environment around them. It's the main reason that chemical weapons were outlawed is because of public outrage. It wasn't because of some like moral reasoning, like just right off the bat. People were appalled at what they saw in World War One. Right?
It's the
They
same
saw
thing as
their
that.
guys come back.
yeah,
their
like-
fucking faces melted off.
I mean, it's full
because of
outrage.
we've
fucking-
expressed like multiple differences to you. One of them being like the ability to reintegrate the environmental impact. So like again, like your inability to see a difference is a selective thing, and I like until like we can bring you to water, but we can't make you drink.
Yeah, I mean, were people just actually like really that outraged over World War II? Because then we went ahead and have been stroking ourselves off about Nagasaki ever since, and like we still
It was
went ahead
World
and
War
did that.
One. It
Yeah,
was
I was
World
gonna say
War
it's World War
One.
One.
No, I know World War One. We were like, let's not do chemical weapons, and America's like, but I'm gonna, like for the next war. So
Wait,
Everybody
what?
was ready to use chemical weapons, and nobody ended up using them. Well, nobody actively. There was preparation to use them. So, like for example, there was a battleship in Italy that, or a supply transport in Italy that sunk, an Allied boat that sunk, and Navy SEAL divers, or the equivalent of the time, who tried to rescue soldiers or sailors, and the sailors themselves had chemical burns, and the U.S. Army actually denied that had actually happened. But the U.S. Army was very fully prepared to use chemical weapons. They shipped them over to Europe, but they didn't actually actively use those chemical weapons.
What chemical weapons did they ship?
Couldn't tell you. It was.
No.
I mean, I don't remember the name, but I can tell you that there was a sinking in Italy where German planes did the bombing of a boat, and the boat sank, and there was this huge cover-up that took multiple decades to figure out.
So we
But-
have less than 15 minutes left. I actually just want to ask a question. Does napalm count as a chemical weapon?
Yes,
It does.
Yep,
I believe.
that's
Didn't,
chemical.
we use that in World War II?
Actually, it doesn't, because fire isn't considered to be a
Yeah,
chemical weapon.
just like Agent Orange technically at the time wasn't a chemical weapon because
Okay,
it was
no,
a mixture
actually,
of two
it
herbicides.
was.
Did
It
we
was
not?
employed. It was employed as a chemical weapon, and it was just specifically like used for its toxic properties. Like there are specific things that are excluded, but just because you can recategorize something as something else doesn't mean it's not inherently a chemical weapon.
When it was used,
Fire,
it was not
fire,
banned.
shrapnel damage, all those things are excluded.
So
When it was used, it wasn't banned.
banned
interesting.
in 2000. As of
Nobody said it
2005,
was banned.
napalm was banned, so it
Yeah.
counts. However, back in World War II, it was not banned.
Okay.
Was it banned for being a chemical weapon, or was it banned because it's too like destructive?
I would guess there's an ecological
Probably
component
because the
to it,
chemical
I know,
property.
like Well,
No,
and
the chemical property is
Ninetales'
burning, which is
point,
excluded from the definition of a
to
chemical
Ninetales'
weapon.
point, a lot of these, I think, also now, especially with the question of global warming coming up and trying to like not fucking
You
decimate
argue everything, don't you, Ninetales?
and not decimate our climate and like our actual environment. A lot of them are banned, just like any other chemicals would be banned in the use of agriculture and other things, because when they are deployed, they essentially can decimate plant life and habitats, and like that leaves lasting damage, not something where it's blown up and then things regrow again. Like that is another major component. And the lingering effects that are in the air, I know for many people who lived in North Vietnam during the Vietnam War have lasting health issues because of the use of things like Agent Orange and other chemical related weapons. So like that, I think, is another thing to consider, is just how we ban certain things in the use of industry. There's plenty of dangerous things we do use in industry, but why not use that same critical eye for the tools we use in warfare?
Okay.
So yeah, like napalm was banned because of the psychological effect, but like nothing on the Wikipedia page about it being a chemical weapon.
Okay.
Samantha.
We have 12 minutes left on the clock here. So I want to move it back to whether, like, how, if they should be banned. It seems like the consensus is that they should be banned. Then how to enforce it, and like what does that actually look like? Because we know countries have used chemical weapons in the past. We know this is a thing that's happened. But has there been consequences? Like, what does that look like? Yeah.
Well, you have UN
hard,
and the UN inspectors are supposed to go in and check. And it's just a matter of whether or not they're allowed to go in there or not.
People talking.
We're talking about, yeah, they're talking about the consequences, right? So obviously you want the inspectors to go in and check and make sure that chemical weapons haven't been used. They already do that, right? The UN actually does a pretty good job, from what I've seen, of ensuring the use of chemical, like seeing if chemical weapons have been used. What we're talking about is like afterwards, right? Reality, it seems like targeted sanctions is the only real way to do it, because outside of like militarily entering like, could you imagine if the US ended the fucking Israel-Palestine conflict? Where the fuck do you think they're going to sit, right? Like, if we're talking about like military intervention, bad idea. Targeted sanctions is probably the only way to do it. Like, if we could target sanctions at like at Likud Party and Netanyahu, anyone involved in any of that shit, you better fucking believe real quick that's going to stop, right? Because Israel is going to significantly prefer its trade over its use of chemical weapons, right? Does that mean they'll be able to do it to pull out of the settlements? No. But that being said, right, I'm almost sure, because if they did before, they promised they wouldn't use them again, which was bullshit apparently, but it was to make them engage in that war.
I like the sanctions idea because one of the things you can do, and this probably doesn't work as well for bigger countries, but they have more economic incentive to participate than some smaller countries. So I'm kind of okay with this dynamic, is sanction their ability to produce these things. So some things, obviously, like white phosphorus, are just super easy to produce within most countries because they already have the facilities to do it, but some of them aren't. And so obviously the ability to produce these things, like, I don't know, I'm half pro intervention where it's possible. I don't like the idea that it's never possible. But like, there are obviously some compounds that you need that aren't just like precursors or intermediaries that you can regulate better.
This is gonna be like
unfortunately, when it comes to any kind of enforcement of international law like this, it gets into questions about like, well, who are you to tell this country what they can and can't do? Really, all you can do is the sanctions, and then like they were just saying, making sure that people don't have the capability to produce them after the fact, so that they can't build more chemical weapons. And I say that if someone continues to build chemical weapons after everyone tells them, hey, maybe don't use chemical weapons, if they just keep on doing it, we should have some kind of unified world response that does involve boots on the ground, because fuck that shit. We shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad.
Just want to clarify something. Okay, sorry. Go. No, you're good. You're good. Go.
Just 1 second. Because I agree. I like that we're talking about, okay, well, how is this enforced? What can we do? Because I think one of the biggest tools we have available is economic pressure. That tends to be the most, diplomatic, but, I use that term loosely because people could argue that the people that suffer from sanctions are often marginalized versus the actual leaders of the country, especially if it's a totalitarian regime. but that is one of the best ways that we can incentivize certain behavior from different governments around the world. And that's magnified when we do it in tandem with a group of allies who all are also economically influential in the world, on the world market. And I think another thing that I'm really glad was brought up was somehow interrupting the supply chain, or if we want to prevent like certain agents and other things from being used. I mean, that is one thing we've been doing. I mean, whether it's okay or not, but that's one way we've been inhibiting Iran's nuclear program, was essentially trying to intercept or prevent them from attaining uranium and being able to then use it for, I mean, presumably creating nuclear bombs. In their case, they say nuclear power. But like I'd say supply chain and some sort of economics pressure, whether that's sanctions, whether that's something else. Because I agree, boots on the ground, especially as the U.S., we have a pretty bad history of imperialist bullshit. And I think that kind of diminishes our authority on being able to enforce certain things.
So let's go to Matt Ladd and then Karana.
Yeah, so we're playing whack-a-mole here. It's like some combination of like popularity contests and whack-a-mole. So like if you're a very popular country, you'll probably get away with whatever you want. And then all the little countries that want to use chemical weapons will, get whacked in one way or another as we proceed. I mean, it's going to be very, very subjective, and it's going to be based on which country is doing what and how contentious the conflict is and how many people are paying attention to it globally.
Whose fault is that?
Whose fault is it? It's the human condition, right? Like I mean, what do you mean?
I mean, isn't that the United Nations to enforce it though? Isn't that what we've all given the United Nations the power to do?
I mean, that's what we try to give the United Nations the power to do, but I mean, frankly speaking, the human condition is such that a very loosely organized international government isn't going to be able to do it. But if you've got that one world government I was talking about that will eventually happen, then yeah, sure, the United Nation equivalent.
Yeah, but that's what the United Nations is supposed to be, a neutral party and a one world government.
The United Nations is an attempt at that, but it's not, completely cohesive.
Yeah.
And
so if the United Nations won't work on a small scale, world government will work on a bigger scale then, right?
Well, no, I mean, you've got I can see why you're a Buckeye fan and not a U of M fan. Because that argument was horrible. No, the whole point is the United Nations is ineffective because it doesn't have teeth, right? That's why the Article of Confederations was replaced with our Constitution now. So the United Nations is a very ineffective world government
that we've let go on for how many years?
Well, it's kind of just the way that it is. Like, have you ever had United Nations in your area? Because the United Nations,
I work with the United Nations.
Work with them and actually have them be like the actual peacekeepers of your country is very different. And they
were my command. Yes.
I mean, that's great.
Yeah, I was directly. They were directly in charge of me.
Right,
I'm just saying that, like, it's cool they're in charge of you, but like I've had the United Nations be the peacekeepers of my country. They don't do fuck all. They don't have any power. They don't even have guns. So like they really can't do anything. So if you go ahead and have the UN come in.
Well, it depends on it depends on what the UN peacekeepers are doing in your country, obviously. But like that's not even the point. It's like besides the point. Like the UN is ineffective because it's a loose coalition and not like some sort of actual government with teeth. So no, the problem with the United Nations is the inefficiencies of the United Nations would be fixed by giving it more teeth. So like I don't know why we're having this discussion. It's whack-a-mole in a popularity contest. Like
and I kind of wanted to say that I put more of my we wanted to go ahead and actually do something to stop people from having chemical weapons, I believe definitely the targeted sanctions are a lot better than going ahead and doing overall sanctions, because not sure if you've ever had sanctions on your country, but a bunch of people fucking killed themselves, all the people that couldn't afford food. Also, deforestation happened. Climate change was go ahead and ramped up, and yeah, just either people starved or they killed themselves because they know that they were going to starve.
Yeah.
So
That's why I
prefer.
agree with the sanctions, Katarana, because it doesn't hurt the governments. It hurts
Oh,
the people
yeah.
of the
Oh
country.
hell yeah! It didn't hurt a single person that was actually going ahead and causing the issues in my
Those
home
evil
country.
regimes
Well,
are
what would
gonna.
you rather do? Just immediately just start bombing the fuck out of any country suspected of using
Magnitsky
chemical
Act.
weapons?
That's why I said
No,
targeted. I
target
would
the
prefer targeted sanctions because what essentially
Yeah.
happened with my country was that there were sanctions on everything, no imports whatsoever of anything, not weapons, not a certain thing, everything. And since we don't actually supply our own food, we don't
Sanctions
really.
don't just hurt for a little bit; they hurt for generations. That's what you have to understand. It
Yeah,
takes
sanctions are bad.
generations for
Targeted
them to
sanctions
get
are
back
good.
into the
How do we
swing of
feel
things.
about-
Yes,
Wait,
so that's what I'm essentially saying.
but just to make sure, do we understand the difference between a sanction and a targeted sanction? Everyone in this room.
Yes.
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 understand, but I don't
Okay,
think
do you understand the
other people
difference?
understand.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you do, right?
Can we not
Yeah,
assume?
cool.
I feel
So
like
can we
that's
not talk
fair.
about sanctions when we're addressing targeted sanctions, right? We all agree sanctions are bad and are ineffective at doing what they want to do, right? If we're talking
just
about
kills
targeted
people.
sanctions as a solution, let's talk about targeted sanctions, okay?
Yes.
Because we do understand they're effective 30% of the time. Around that, I got to double check the stat. But
Are we
yeah, sorry,
really
go on.
going to wait until the last 6 minutes of the topic to talk about one specific thing when the entire time we've been talking about 4 or 5 different subjects?
Honestly, there isn't much discussion that we even need to do because the
I
alternative
agree.
is nothing, which is even more stupid.
I want to take it to the next level. What about getting the CIA in on this? Instead of doing targeted sanctions, we do another kind of targeting. You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, is that unethical?
Oh my god, I would nope. CIA, nope.
I wouldn't trust the CIA to target a speeder.
Coup.
I'm just saying, like, that's done anyway, right? Like,
It's very cute that that's what we've done, and unfortunately, for some reason, there's no peacekeeper or nobody actually like going ahead and acting checks and balances on the states. But yeah, I would definitely not want the CIA to be the arbiter of whether or not the people deserve to do certain things, because usually it leads to, hey, you want
I mean,
you
I
want
guess
to
the question is-
fucking snipe.
so a targeted sanction is supposed to take the person who's using the chemical weapons out of the equation and or give them incentive not to use the chemical weapons in the first place. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to take this idea to its maximum extreme, it would be some CIA equivalent or whatever, taking them out directly and using that as a deterrent. And the question is, if that is an effective deterrent? Because if it's not, then will the targeted sanctions work? That's my
I don't
logic.
see how going ahead and getting rid of a singular person in the government or a singular set of people in the government to go ahead and stop the enriching of uranium or chemical weapons.
Still do it, right?
Because in specific
literally still go
regimes,
ahead and do it.
that
Literally,
there
it's
are
like
always-
it's been great
there are
for the
few
system,
at
and
the
they have
top
to go
who
ahead
don't
and
do it.
do chemical
So,
weapons.
what I'm saying then is, if the assassinations wouldn't work, then would the targeted sanctions work anyway?
Yes, because if you can't just go ahead and bang pots and pans together to make uranium. Like, if no one's giving it to you, you're not making it. The end. Like,
Yeah,
if no
but if you're
one's
dead,
giving
you
you
can't make it
that's it.
either. I'm not sure what you're like. A targeted sanction against a person is not the same thing as a targeted sanction against a country.
Yeah, and we want targeted sanctions against a country that you're no longer getting imports of a particular
Yeah,
product. We need to go ahead and
I think we do need to talk about what a targeted sanction is. It's not just like individuals and industries within a country. It's not the whole country itself, right?
That's my understanding. Is a targeted sanction is something that is against individuals in that country, not against like the country itself.
No, if the Vladimir Putin
you might
is
target
killed-
uranium producers, right? Like if you're looking to aim at stopping uranium production, what you might do is target those uranium producers, put the sanctions on them, and prevent them from being able to buy the equipment and the tools and stuff to make uranium.
if they're a state-sponsored uranium supplier.
So that is time. That is time. Thank you all for that. Interesting topic. And good discussion. Excuse me. So to my members in the audience, once again, we will be voting. Once again, it's all up to you. All up to you. Which of these individuals actually gets to move on. So you will be voting. Oh, we only have 5 minutes on the clock, but you'll be voting for which of these individuals you want to keep, right? So I'm going to put a poll in chat. Vote for the one that you want to keep for whatever reason. Most interesting, most funny, most whatever, right? The criteria is your own, but just vote for the one you want to keep here to go into the next round, not who you want to leave, all right? So I'm going to put it put the poll in chat. putting the poll in chat. Everyone, vote right now. Don't vote later, because if you vote after the buzzer goes off, I'm sorry, no one gives a shit. Okay, all right. So vote right this second. 5 minutes on the clock. Vote. If you're just arriving at this channel and you've been enjoying this content, do me a favor, hit that follow button. We give you content 6 days a week here. 6 days a week, we give you a lot of content. So we want you to come back. Don't want you to miss out. Hit that follow button and hit that notification bell so you know when we're going live. All right. Go ahead if you guys want to talk about whatever.
Should we define targeted sanctions?
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is with that. It seems like targeted. I don't see if there's an issue with targeted sanctions. I think everyone agrees that those are probably the best way to go.
I think it's like our only way to go. I don't know if it's actually going
I
to be
mean,
effective.
it's not the only way to go. You could just start bombing the fuck out of every country you like disagree with, but that's not something that we recognize as being a good option.
Well, I mean, right. That's what I mean. Like, literally, it's not possible. Not to say that's not possible, but it's not feasible. Yeah. So, like, the only feasible option is targeted sanctions, and I'm not really sure how effective they are. I mean, if assassination,
like I said,
there was targeted sanctions on Saddam Hussein,
and he still did what? Oh, I guess he didn't have weapons, though. We shipped them.
But like just because they don't work in a singular instance, right? What we want to do is look at something and see what conditions it works in, how often it works, and then apply them that way, right? And we have studies on targeted sanctions. You can go and look at them. Like I said, they're significantly more effective than pretty much any other action. I've got to do a comparison of inventions, right? Especially modern inventions over previous inventions. Like we understand like everything about like Vietnam and stuff was pretty fucking not pog. But there was like a couple of interventions, particularly in the 90s and onwards, that were actually like really good inventions, right? That like a lot of people would be really fucking not stoked if those interventions didn't happen. But in terms of targeted sanctions, at least at a broad level from studies I've read, they work around about a third of the time. And that's pretty good, right? Like just because they don't work all the time doesn't mean we can't go to them and use them as a tool, right? This is like Nirvana fallacy.
I'm just
Yeah, and
curious.
it's like I was saying,
I guess in terms of like zero, but like I don't know.
Like I was saying, the alternative is just letting this it's just doing nothing, which to me is absurd. Like obviously more chemical weapons are going to exist and be used if we just make it easier for people to manufacture and use them.
I agree with you. I think that's like we shouldn't do nothing, but I'm just saying like if we're talking about this, we should be trying to come up with like, if there's anything better, we should be like looking for it,
Oh, sure. No,
it would be cool if we could do things to people. I say people do things to countries that violate this, and like the UN, like take away their seats or something. I don't know if that's a possibility. Like if they have a say on a certain council, just like immediately revoke.
They usually
all
don't belong to
privileges.
the UN.
But the problem is you want them there because having them there is better than not having them at the table.
Oh, I'm not saying take away their status but I'm saying like on specific committees or something like that. If they're on a specific committee, take away their ability to have a say on that committee specifically.
I mean, I guess we could like look up and see. Did I already vote?
And like remember, like we're talking about a lot of proactive measures. Like when it comes to reactive things, I think boots on the ground are a little bit more reasonable because now they have attacked their population. The shitty thing is that we're talking from the perspective of like post-colonial nations who have done awful things, and we can't like assume that they're just not going to like take advantage of this. The US takes advantage of like every position in geopolitics that it can. So if anything, Canada or Britain or the US and various countries with similar colonial tendencies are not something I want to do this.
To my audience, vote right now. We have less than a minute left in chat, or not chat, excuse me. Less than a minute left in the voting, right? So vote right this second because your favorite may be eliminated. That's happened before. We've seen it. It will happen again. People will vote after the buzzer, then the person gets eliminated anyway because they didn't bother to do it within a very generous time, 5-minute time limit. So it's 30 seconds left on the clock. And once again, if you're just arriving here and enjoying this content, one, participate in the poll, right, that we have here. And two, hit that follow button and hit that notification bell so you know when I'm going live. It's almost done. And
really quick, I want to tag on to what what they just said, because it seems like even if it does feel shitty for these like post-colonial states like the U.S. and Canada and Britain to be the ones to respond, like they're probably the only ones with the capabilities to really go in there and do any kind of boots on the ground operations,
Sure.
right?
Sure,
So
but
like
they
it
can
sucks, but
also
like it seems like if we
they can
wanted
arm
to
these
actually be
countries that are
effective,
advantaged.
I'm
It's
sorry,
not
say it
really,
again.
they can easily like give like their utilities to other countries to do this stuff.
To
Like
fight for
just
us.
because
It seems like we're at that point we're just like pushing off the responsibility for people to fight and die onto someone else, and that also seems equally shitty, right?
I
Like
think
it's
it's a
a
privilege to the peacekeepers of the world. So I think what we're doing is saying the U.S., Canada,
I
and Britain
feel
doesn't
like
have
that
privilege to
that
these.
feels like, oh yeah, no, you go and fight and die for me. It's a privilege to go and do that, right? It feels like the people that are fighting and dying probably wouldn't have that same opinion.
I mean, like it depends. Like some people want to be in the army, and I've like kind of settled with that sort of thing. So I can't speak to the different mindsets of people. And like I'm sure people who join the army are slightly more okay with dying than people who generally
Okay.
don't.
So
we're doing it? Okay.
yeah, we've definitely hit it. So again, if you didn't vote afterwards, don't care. I should have voted before, but I think you all the ones who did vote. Okay, so all right, the top vote getter once again at the top. Actually, scratch that. We've got two people who tied for the top. Maddie and Ninetales. Tied with Maddie to be at the top. All right. This is amazing. Good work. Hold on. I'm gonna move your faces on the screen. If I can like find my. Okay, sorry. Sorry. There we go. Put her. If it just okay. If you'll work for me. All right. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. So at the top, she's doing a great job. Like I said, like she rallies every time. And apparently, Ninetales has quite a few friends in chat who definitely want to see her succeed. Okay, so those are our top two. Okay, and we'll start from the bottom this time, all right? Because we got something we got to do. Sansol dropped to the bottom. That's a shame. It's a shame. But yeah, well, still has a chance to make it. So we'll drop Sansol here. Okay. Then it's not looking good. Kill San. How could this be? Friend? I don't know. How did this happen?
I speak the truth and chat's ashamed, all right?
Okay.
It's not my fault. I'm only based and only correct. And these cowards don't know a good take when they see one, all right? I already know what's going to happen. I'm a man who faces his death well, all right? I embrace it as a part of who I am, okay? I've already accepted the consequences of my action here. I understand that I am the strategic vote to be eliminated, right? I just want to let chat know you can get fucked. Eat my ass, cunts.
Okay.
You aren't poggers. I said you were poggers and you betrayed me, not poggers.
All right. And then for the third little spot, we have a tie between Fat Buckeye and Katarana. And like before, I would just like, hey, let's let voting continue, but this is gonna be quite annoying. So instead, right, and relying on people to like not vote. Instead, this is a rule I'm making up on the fly. We will do rock, paper, scissors. You will DM me rock, paper, or scissors. Fat Buckeye and Katarana, you're gonna DM me rock, paper, or scissor. And we'll go over that, and the person who loses is up on the chopping block. I just came up with this one. Okay, that doesn't. Katarana, that's not what I asked. Please participate.
The answer "fuck you" isn't the right answer.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well.
Any which way. All right. Okay, so try it again. They both pick rock. We'll keep going until we have. Okay. Let's see. What did you just both pick rock again? You fucking.
bitches!
Hold on a second. Hold on. Yeah, you both pick rock again. All right. So
Why don't you pick a number between, like, or just have them? I don't know.
what?
Do a
Numbers.
1 minute
Just, like, flip a
poll
coin.
No, it's a
in
pain,
chat.
Yeah.
pain in the dick to do that. No, and
Oh, is
yeah,
it?
poll in
Okay.
chat. That's a good one. Let's go.
So
Cool.
we're gonna do this.
Let the
We're
democracy
gonna
eat
do
them
this.
alive.
Nope, we're gonna do
Theo,
this.
you're not going to be saved by that.
So
I know. I'm gone. I already understand, right? There's no point in doing this bullshit, all right?
No.
I already understand I'm out, right? You're
The
all-
one
you
I'm
get
looking
everyone
at-
get fucked, all right?
The one I'm looking at, she's 12, I'm 11.
People
I'll go down on the
assuming how
block.
I'm gonna vote is.
I'll
Look,
go
I
down
already
on the
know I'm
block.
the biggest threat, okay? It's understandable. With guns like these, right? When we're talking about international conflicts, people get scared, okay? It's fine. It's cool. I understand. They're 50 cals. Everyone's a little bit intimidated. It's fine. all
okay.
right?
If that Buckeye is volunteering to be on the block, all right then. So Colorado is safe from elimination now. But we'll figure out the best way to do these things in the future. All right. So we will. So the top two vote getters will be deciding which among the bottom will be eliminated. So get on your knees and beg these two wonderful women as to why you should stick around. All right, we'll start with you, Fat Buckeye. Why should you stay?
Well, I probably shouldn't stay because I've got the kids and we've got a bedtime. But I want to stay because I want a reason to sit here and make jokes and push my little audio things that I set up on my stream deck. Last but not least, I'm the one that you're going to win against if you take me to the end. Sansol has a big following. Kyle-san has a big following. I have 6 people in my channel right now. Okay? I got 11 votes. I'm not going to win today, but you want to take this guy to the end, right? And Ninetails, if you get me out of here, you're not going to have anybody to argue with. You're going to have to actually think of things to argue with these people because they all think about it probably the same way that you do. Let's be honest.
Okay. All right. Okay. He's going with the child neglect route. Got it. Thank you.
Drop subs.
All right. Well, fair enough. All right. And bribery. I love it. That's the best part. That's the best idea for me. Bribery when it works. All right. So next we got Kyo-san. Kyo-san. Why should these two peerless women keep you around?
Look, they're really intelligent, all right? I already know. We've talked multiple times, all right? Very smart, which is why they're going to vote me out. I already know it, but that's fine. It is what it is, okay? I've accepted my fate, all right? But if we want to have if you want to have boring ass content, right? You want to have these meekly agreement. Yeah, sure, sick. Keep everyone else here. If you want to have some real fucking biffs, you can keep you around. But I already know it's not the case because you're going to make the smartest decision because you're very smart women. All right.
All right. Okay. So he's aping Ninetails' strategy. Gotcha. All right. Moving on. I guess maybe that's a compliment to you. Last but certainly not least, Sansol. Why should these women who walk the earth, right, and who are too good for the rest of us, honestly, why should they keep you around?
Because I'm just so goddamn pretty. And if you don't keep me around, you're biphobic. Yep, that's all I got for you. I am usually right on everything, so it's also pretty dangerous to keep me around. So it's a hard decision, I know, but I have very long hair, and most people really enjoy that, and you can continue looking at it if you keep me around.
Okay, all right. So he went for the it pull route. All right. Well, these people are leftists. That'll work on them. So, Maddie, Ninetails,
I have a correction.
You will. What? What's your correction?
I've only got 5 in my page. 5.
Oh.
5 viewers, and one of those is a bot.
Well, there you go.
Go ahead, Hero.
Maddie, and Ninetails send those DMs to me, particularly, right? It's a good way to get women to send me DMs. They usually don't, actually. Usually, my DMs are usually quite empty, actually. So this is the only way I can manage to do so. Oh, okay. All right. The votes are in. And Asansol, your beautiful hair did not save you this time, right? I'm sorry,
Oh,
your
shit.
Samson-like hair did not win the day. But thank you, Asansol, so much.
Biphobic as fuck. Unbelievable.
Uh,
Outing yourselves like that. Anyways.
Oh man, identity politics did not work today.
Well, it can't be me. I'm trans, so like I'm safe from that accusation.
Damn.
I'm
Oh,
bi.
shit.
Hey,
You can be biased, alright. Anyways, thank you guys for having me on. This is very fun. I enjoy this sort of thing. Now I know who my enemies are, so I'll keep that in mind for the future. And yeah. Is it what's the next thing? Do I just like get kicked? Am I ceremoniously sacrificed?
You want me to toss you out like yesterday's trash? I can definitely do that.
Well, I mean, if you want to,
I want to.
take me out like trash. At least take me to dinner first.
But yeah, off you go.
All right, catch you later.
See ya.
Wait, actually, how do I leave? Oh, there
I'll
we
do
go.
that for you. Bye, buddy. All right. All right. Between the last two individuals, which one goes? Which one goes? Buck, your kids apparently saved you once again. Thank you, kids. Thank you, beautiful child. Because Kyo-san, I think you have kids, right?
No.
Oh.
Just 'cause I'm 30.
Oh.
This is just old. This is ageist, okay? Right? I get that I've got crow's feet and I've got a beard and I'm old. I'm 30 now, right? Doesn't mean I've got fucking kids, alright?
that's
Hey, I
not-
waited till I was
I'm
40.
33.
Relax.
Okay.
Knows
Okay.
how old I'm. You're be anything between 20 to 50.
You do have a wife, right, or something?
I have a partner, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's my fault. Anyway, one way or another, it's your fault for not procreating. So, for this specific reason, to win an internet game show. All right. So, Kyo, buddy. Final words.
Alright, so like I mentioned before, I've achieved the perfected brand unity. So you can follow me here on Twitch, Kyosan.au, over on Twitter, Kyosan.au, right? I haven't been able to stream as much due to work stuff, so you'll find a lot more of my content on Twitter nowadays. But I do what I can. We're having a deep dive on a couple of the things on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict currently, because that's the news. Normally we also talk about politics and philosophy over there. We're working on a research document together at the moment, so a lot of reading, a lot of policy papers. If that interests you, I'd love to have you there, right? Nice chill hangs, nice chill conversations. I just came off of a nearly 18, 19 hour stream for the subathon, which was dumb. I don't know why I did that. Destroy my body for like 3 days, but it was very, very fun. I know a couple of people here were there, and I very much appreciated their appearance there, especially towards the end and keeping me awake. But it was very fun. So if you like the idea of discussing policy papers and reading a lot and getting mad in the nicest way possible, I'd love to talk to you. So come and hang out. Thank you very much for having me on, Prime. It's always a pleasure, and a pleasure to talk to all the lovely other contestants here, of whom I'm mostly big fans of. When I say what I mean mostly, I'm big fans of all y'all. Love y'all. Y'all have a good night, eh? Thank you very much for having me on.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye, buddy. All right.
Bye.
Let's move on.
His biggest mistake was trying to use my own arguments against me.
All right. So, fair enough. So we'll move on to our next topic. If I can actually pull this up. That's actually right in front of my face. All right. I actually have strong feelings about this one. Should the U.S. have a space force? Was that a brilliant idea from President Donald Trump? All right, we have 25 minutes left on the clock. Jump into it.
This goes back to the whole one world government thing. We need a one world space force, not a U.S. space force, obviously. I mean, I think it's ridiculous. Like, what's the U.S. space force actually going to do besides start the type of warfare that would be just like, economy wrecking? Like, imagine Chinese like space force cadets blowing up U.S. satellites and vice versa. So we can't stream on our phones, so we can't play video games, so we can't do anything, right? Like, it would. I mean, and that's just like me being petty, but like, think of it past that, like how many economies require satellite communication, right? Like how many different industries depend on it? Imagine, doing something that has impact on lives and saving lives. It's crazy. I don't know why this would ever be a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's like reminiscent of when Reagan had this whole idea of Star Wars and how we were going to create like a system of lasers that could be shot from space, and how he basically like that led to part of the decimation of our federal budget. Like, I think about this and I'm like, in the future, like long term future, when maybe we are more like spacefaring than we are right now, maybe that there might be something to consider for ensuring like security or whatever in that area. But like right now, I can't help but wonder, I was like, how much money was spent on this bullshit announcement? How much money is being spent on something that's not going to actually contribute to national security? Like, how much fucking money are we spending that could be allocated towards anything else that's going to actually have a material impact on people's lives? Like, the fact that Space Force is a thing is a fucking joke.
I
So,
do
like,
want
my
to say
problem
that
with
the
this
Star
is
Wars
that it's
program
like,
is not
this is trying
actually.
to, I think that this is trying to bring back the technology race from like when we were trying to get to space in the first place.
Yeah.
That's what like Trump's main goal was, which is to try to like stimulate the economy under false pretenses. One of the things that like a lot of people don't consider when we think about this is shrapnel. It's very, very, very hard to control flying shrapnel throughout space. Um, and so like what we're like, if we're going to talk about controlling things, we have like two methods basically. We just like get like a docking beam and pull that ship into our much larger, probably like overly sized ship, or we block their communications in a means of operating. Now, the latter thing is actually a little bit more feasible, but ultimately like not the best form of enforcement, because obviously people can have other different kinds of ways to go around things. The only way to actually stop somebody is to, I guess, like take their ship. Now, what we're talking about here is so far down the future, because we're not just talking about getting ships in space. We're not just talking about ships that are the right size for all the utilities we need. We need ships that are oversized and actually have the ability to take them up. Because I'm telling you right now, if you're even slightly worried, I bet you a lot of you were just excited, but like if you're even slightly worried about the rocket debris from that Chinese rocket like hitting your house, that's going to become a daily occurrence if we start having space wars. And like trying to navigate space through all the shrapnel and debris will be a nightmare. We won't even be able to inhabit space at past a certain point. So I don't think that like anything aside from like non-destructive warfare is even possible.
So there's like
The
two
whole
things here.
I'm the space person here. Be
All right,
quiet.
Marty, go ahead.
There. Okay. Space Force is really, really stupid. I don't see the purpose at all. I think I obviously am always happy whenever there's additional investment into space, but I really think the idea of going ahead and still protecting national interests outside of our planet just it's so fucking stupid. Like especially when you're able to go ahead and see how small like your country is in like relativity to the rest of the universe, and you're still sitting there, but America, like it's just I don't know, it's really destructive. I think there shouldn't be any form of a war, any form of conflicts taking place outside of our orbit, especially because your ability to go ahead and calculate what the actual radius of everything that could break off gets super hard. Being able to do that just for launching rockets in the first place is already difficult enough. The amount of analysis it takes to figure out like where's debris going to land if you're just going up and down is hard enough. Now imagine going ahead and having things moving in all different directions. Like you can actually have no guarantee that anyone will be safe as a result of the shrapnel that you're going ahead and creating. So I think really we shouldn't be expanding any form of there's already a problem with space debris in the first place. Accelerating that is awful. Prime looks like he's about to explode. Yeah, I'll cede my time.
Okay.
So this is actually really interesting. I just looked something up. Neil deGrasse Tyson actually was a fan of the Space Force idea. Of all
Neil
the
deGrasse
people
Neil deGrasse Tyson has brain work.
He's
What do you
also
want?
an asshole. Yeah.
Wait, you guys don't like him? I thought we liked him.
Okay.
We not like
So
him?
I want to stick on this. I want to stick on the subject, and
Okay.
and
You want to hear from the only veteran on the panel?
yeah, please.
Oh,
go ahead.
So the Space Force is just a branch of the Air Force, from what I have been researching.
Yeah, it's a
right. They broke it off from the Air Force. It's so new in its infancy that its mission statement is this, and I read from its spaceforce.mil. The USSF is a military service that organizes, trains, and equips space forces in order to protect U.S. and allied interests in space and to provide space capabilities to the joint force. USSF responsibilities include developing guardians, acquiring military space systems, maturing the military doctrine for space power, and organizing space forces to present to our combatant commands. To me, reading military jargon and military orders for 20 years cannot make sense of that in any way. And I don't find myself to be an ignorant individual. Hold on. But is it Trump's idea? I don't think that he thought this up of himself by himself. I think it's something that was developed.
An idea.
I think it was in the Army used to call these the good idea fairies, right? This was something that was developed and thought of, and they packaged it up and put it on a nice bow and said, "Hey, President Trump, here's an idea that we have." Right? You remember that movie? Oh shit! This is where my TBI comes in because I just had Austin Powers with the moon laser,
the freaking laser beams,
the freaking laser beams. This is how we take care of that, sir. That's really gonna happen. This is how we take care of it. Trump looks at it and he goes, "Yeah, let's do it." I just see that. I honestly see in the future that NASA and the Space Force combine. It takes away from NASA's budget and will put into the Space Force budget. I see them combining and coming up with ideas. I think it's a good idea for us to develop the space station up in space, and I think it's good for us to develop bigger and larger areas up there. But I don't know if we need a Space Force right now.
So
that's a problem in itself. Taking away from NASA's budget is awful.
I didn't say take away from NASA's budget. I said I see NASA and the Space Force combining because of the budgets can and the personnel can
I'm
mold with each other.
I'm gonna step in here because apparently all of you agree on. But I think your arguments are terrible here. So I think the Space Force is a great idea. I think it's actually fantastic. This is like one of the best things that Trump had come up with, right? Because, like, if you understand that, like naval power, like shaped the world, right? It was the fact that certain European powers had great naval forces that allowed them to take control of like the next few centuries, just through naval power, right? And now the next battle, right? Not currently, but soon, will be in space. This is simply getting us started, on and developing. Like for instance, a part of the mission statement, which I had also read of the Space Force, right? Talks about maturing space battle strategies, right? Understanding that they're like we don't have an idea of how to fight in space, but at some point we're going to have adversaries who are, as we're speaking, trying to develop their space capabilities. And if that's the case, right, if they are ahead of us, there's no reason why they can't take control of that valuable real estate, right? It's simply an advantage, simply being higher than the other person, the other nation. That's why we aren't allowed to militarize the moon, right? There's like a treaty, I believe, that you can't militarize the moon, but because we really recognize that as a strategic advantage. So I think actually developing this makes complete sense. Simply getting started. Now, are we going to have like advanced space combat like you've seen in science fiction shows? Certainly not anytime soon. Now, our rockets are too rudimentary for that. But to actually get started in developing these capabilities, like, why not? Why not now?
What's the utility? Can we not fuck up our own planet enough? Why do we need to
That's
go?
not an argument. That's what.
No, I don't understand the utility of it. Like I understand
the utility. Just now.
Yeah,
utility that's beyond.
yeah, the utilities because other people are doing it. So like, why not like yeah, like, go ahead and make sure they had a good navy and then we can control things. Like, do we really need more? Like, I just don't know. I think
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. I mean, really, we're gonna need this because if you watch Wall-E, right, and you watch what that big superstore did to the world and that one world government, right? They left that ship up there for 100 years or whatever. They didn't know what they were going to do up there. So we need a space force to figure it out. So that when we get that one world government and we trash the planet, we got to get up there. We need.
I've also seen Starship Troopers, and bugs are gross. And if we make the military go into space, then presumably we're going to be fighting gigantic bugs and gross.
Okay,
so
when the Mars rover comes back, they're going to be
All right, so I'm just going to make an argument. Okay.
No. I don't understand like how we're getting into like but then the interstellar bro. Have you heard of quantum computers, dog? Like I just don't.
What? No. I don't understand what.
I'm saying why are we getting into media?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Before I get off, I did want to make a point. So I was trying to figure out like who are the active supporters of the Space Force, and there are some actual interesting things that have direct application to things here on Earth. There are such things as kinetic bombardment. That's an actual thing. So you could actually theoretically build a satellite that launches that's just a rail gun and launches rails into the Earth. So like there's an actual practical on the ground impact, literally, that comes from this type of thing. I do think that with all the shrapnel and all the things that would come from warfare in space, it would probably cause a lot of problems. But I think that those problems can be overcome through research and development. That's like the whole point of this, right? Like there'd be, so like there's something to this, and I mean I guess you could say like starting now would do something for that. But honestly, on the other hand, I don't think we're going to have an actual defined set of Space Force responsibilities until, like, I don't know, decades in the future when the technology is more practical. There's some design for kinetic bombardment and stuff and attacking satellites.
Mad Lad,
so
you've hit the nail on the head, right? Because part of it is developing weapons simply for terrestrial use, right? To target enemies on the ground. Like, am I a fan of warfare in general? No, absolutely not. But, like, our enemies will certainly do that. So I would rather have those capabilities since our enemies will certainly develop it. So why not? Why not actually get started? Why not actually start putting?
Because when Thor gets here, he brings
Why not get started? Why not get started? And again, it doesn't necessarily even have to be, as Mad Lad pointed out, like space to space combat, right? Like, who knows when our rockets will be, or space faring capabilities will be good enough for that even to be ever an issue, right? But simply having weapons and being able to knock out other people's weapons that they may have put in space, right?
Yeah, railguns are like super fun and stuff, and there are lasers. But here's something to consider: warfare isn't going to look like what it did on Star Wars and Star Trek. These are going to be incredibly huge distances. You're not going to have some laser that's waiting to target you and lock on you. It's going to lock on you and kill you immediately because there's no resistance in the air or anything to calculate. It's an immediate shot. As soon as you're targeted, you're hit.
Hold on.
Secondly, let me finish. We can't even track the trajectory of fucking Chinese satellite debris falling back to Earth. You really think that we're going to be able to target shit with a railgun? Come on, be realistic.
Okay, so first of all, you're talking about long distances and it being like instant kill shot, whatever. Like the whole point is that yes, if there's long distance, you're gonna have a hard time hitting targets. Sure. However, we are able to land objects on Mars successfully. So a railgun in space launching rails at the surface of the planet is actually totally possible. It's already being cooked up.
Going ahead and dropping something and having a bit of a latency delay and going ahead and targeting something is a very, very, very different. And I just don't like this whole idea of even thinking about the Space Force because whenever like it's going to just cause divestment from what actually matters, and what matters in this space is NASA. I'd rather go ahead and talk more about how to go ahead and build technologies to help human existence. Go ahead and do things like mapping out Mars, seeing if there's any type of water, if it's possible to terraform, rather than just sitting there and be like,
just gonna play devil's advocate here. Like, as much as I want us to focus on making improvements to our planet, there are people who will just do things to spite others. Like, think about the gas crisis that's happening right now. That was a man-made, created crisis. We have gas infrastructure to deliver gas from one part of our country to another, and then some folks decided to sabotage it just because they could. So there's no reason why this can't happen in space. And since there's no reason that this can't happen in space, we should be prepared to defend against threats that are like this from rogue
Space
states
Force,
that
we
are
just need
People
Air
decided
Force.
to cancel the
Like
pipeline.
ICBMs.
That didn't
ICBMs are
help anything
perfectly
with gas
capable
either.
of being aimed at stuff in space and hitting them. So like we don't have to do this whole we need a force already in space. We can just develop land
in
and space.
space when you could put a satellite up there that could take things out cheaper and be reused. What do you mean?
Yeah,
So we're gonna
I'm just
recreate
saying,
Reagan's Star
enjoy
Wars.
your
Love
showers
it.
of space debris. It's gonna be
No,
fun.
Hydra, the weapon
Hey, if
that
you hate the
Hydra created.
lockdown,
buddy.
if you already hate the
Yeah.
lockdown, enjoy taking shelter
I know,
because
I
it's
like the ICBM idea. It's so
That's what
outlandish.
the Space
because
Force is.
it
The
would
Space Force is
actually-
Hydra.
It's funny because we're talking about like having projectiles going through space and defending ourselves and spacefaring warfare. And like here's the thing, like it was a feat of science for us to land a single probe on an asteroid. Like that was a scientific marvel. It was fucking incredible. The fact that we had a tiny little helicopter hover briefly and then go back down on Mars, what a marvel. So I think in the distant future, when our technology advances to the point where we have real like violence, space related violence to consider, that could be something worth exploring. However, where we are technologically today is nowhere near that. And I think, like, to Katarana's
You
point,
can't blow up
like
Saturn.
this will cause divestment of NASA, which has, by the way, already been routinely had its budget cut because they pretend to care about, oh well, we want to rule space,
Well,
but then they don't want to invest in the actual
they-
research
they
and
would-
development
they
of
would
things that
actually
make
cut
us
NASA's
stronger
budget, though.
and
That's
as
not
space
true.
power. So like if you really care about that and like national security, there's no need to create a whole separate entity for it when we're not there yet. Why don't you invest in some R&D so that we can actually win the space race technologically?
So
the
Maddie,
Space
did you
Force-
not actually listen to what was said before? Like you're talking.
Yes, I did listen.
So what about again, actual space to terrestrial weapons, right? Like you're saying, like, oh well, we don't have the capabilities because we don't have spaceships that can do these advanced maneuvers. But we've literally talked about that, right? So
Is this actually a
there's,
genuine threat? Was this
like
actually a threat that was
being
going on, or
able
did
to
something
sorry, I don't know what you're saying, to be able to like control.
Sorry, I guess I missed when we had a spaceship that had lasers attached or any
Yeah,
sort of
I don't know.
ballistic missiles.
I don't know what
that was
lasers
spacefaring
are.
and then, but
I don't
if you
understand
have
why you
information that I don't, I would love to see it.
You're not even listening. You're literally not listening to a word that I say, and I don't know where the lasers came from. Oh, I mean, Ninetales said lasers, but that no one. I don't know why you guys are talking about lasers. No one's talking about lasers.
Are you referring to the Chinese?
No, I'm not referring
piece
to
of equipment
anything.
that fell?
You're saying that. I didn't say anything about that. I'm just talking about different capabilities that we could develop in the future, right? Like these are not these aren't hypothetical.
Well, I wanna, okay, hold on. I not to cut you off, sorry, but like the thing that I wanna dispel a few myths before we get into like the nitty gritty. Like we're talking about cutting NASA's budget to fund the Space Force. And that's not how that works. The Space Force is a military thing, so it would be in the Pentagon would be funding it. The Pentagon would decide how much funding goes to it. NASA's funding is completely separate and would not be cut to fund the Space Force. It's two different things, completely different. So if anything, it would actually add to our space research.
Yeah, it's gonna. I see them in the future. I see them merging the two entities.
I don't know if they would merge it or not. They're two separate entities. Like
No,
you can,
they have two different
Just
missions.
say
the FAA
They do, but
and
they
Air
don't.
Force are not the same thing, right? Like the FAA is a separate agency, and then you've got the Air Force. They're two separate entities, and it will probably always be separate.
Well, I'd really
just
like to
because
ask.
they're not under the same budget
They
line
might
doesn't mean
collaborate, but that's different.
No, just because they're not under the same budget line doesn't mean that just because like, okay, we're going to give to the Navy, we know that a lot of that's going to go to the Air Force, and we're also still going to continue giving the same amount that we are going to go and give to NASA. A lot of people will go ahead and look at it and say, hey, we're still investing in space, but this is the stuff we care more about. We care more about space warfare than we do about space research. So yes, like as a consequence, they will go ahead and potentially cut it. And the only reason
but
why
if anything, right now it's a positive. It's a net gain. Right now it's a net gain.
I don't see it as a net gain in any way, somewhat, even if it's a little bit. Which it will be inevitable that they somewhat cut NASA's budget just to go ahead and develop space warfare. And I don't see why this was something that needed to be done at the moment, because sure, like in an inevitability, but I've never really seen the US as being this suddenly preemptive institution. You know, we've known for a long time that there's been a lot of other things that we need to go ahead and get on for the future, and we didn't go and get on that. And at the moment, there is no space warfare like that is happening within the next 5 years. So why don't we go ahead
it's like you guys haven't, like we keep saying the same things and you're not even listening. It's literally your own imagination as to what we're talking about. Like it's like you're saying, well, there's no space warfare, no space combat. It's about projecting power, being able to project power anywhere on the globe. Right, that's where it would.
Those optics.
The power flex right now.
So it's purely an optics play, was what you're saying.
No, he's not talking about optics at all. I don't understand.
Projecting power across the globe. Maybe you're not being clear. Like, if you would please clarify so my dumb brain can figure it out.
I'm not calling anyone dumb. I'm just saying.
I called me dumb.
Okay.
I called me dumb.
All right. Well,
there's things called GASAT, which exists right now that are designed specifically to take down satellites. So you can launch missiles into space with the explicit purpose of destroying satellites, which is definitely what I would consider space warfare, no? So wouldn't a Space Force responsibility be to stop rogue states from destroying our satellites?
Ninetales.
Okay, so like
the primary like implementation and like tangible use for it right now. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, yeah, it's real. It's live right now. They're called ASAT.
Is this something that's
for the last 20 years?
Have there been when has a satellite been shot down?
At 2:28 UTC on January 11th, 2007, the People's Republic of China successfully destroyed a defunct Chinese weather satellite.
Yeah, okay, I remember hearing about that. And, like, obviously that created more space. So like we don't want more space debris. Something that someone in my chat brought up is like we have lots of environmental things to deal with here, and I'm just like going off of what Katarana said. Like Katarana, I don't think spaceships are all that efficient as far as like getting the green seal of approval from the EPA, are they?
Oh, by the way,
definitely more to make them efficient, but yeah, the current way in which we go ahead and propel them are not very efficient. Yeah.
By the way,
I'd rather see like us work on like our environment than space.
Going back to the whole discussion, by the way, Israel is actually working on this right now, and it is believed that it is happening. The Arrow 3 or the Hetz 3 rocket should be able to shoot down satellites. So if they want to suppress, I don't know, folks they don't like, they can blow up their satellites. It's an actual real thing.
And I know I was making jokes about this, but I mean, when it comes to research, some of the most important, I don't want to say inventions, but some of the most important ideas and breakthroughs have been through military research. So it's a good thing to break this off from the Air Force and have them focus specifically on space research. And I agree with that. But I honestly think if you look at NASA's track record with, I don't know, space shuttle incidents and blowing up and people not being held responsible, I foresee that the launching of the space shuttles and NASA and the Space Force will all merge and have similar responsibilities. Because I mean, you've got a billionaire, launching his own rockets up in space right now, safely, with a better record than NASA right now.
Katarana,
yeah, I think it's more practical to regulate that on the ground than in space.
I want to know, did you agree with Ninetales? Just one last question. Did you agree with Ninetales? And making the dichotomy between concentrating on the environment rather than space?
Sorry, the only part that I answered was about whether or not it's currently eco-efficient.
Oh, you
What
wanted
was
me
the
to-
what was the follow-up to it? Because I didn't hear it very well.
Oh, I just simply said that we need to focus more on the environment than space, and I think Prime wanted to know if you agreed.
Yeah.
I think both are being equally like not really paid attention to. I think that one is a plan B and one's plan A. I think they should both receive more attention, and I think that there's ways to go ahead and continue our research into space and go ahead and continue to make launch vehicles that are actually ecologically efficient. There's ways to make a hydrogen oxygen rocket, which is the only byproduct would be water. And I think we definitely need to go ahead and start doing things more like that rather than using kerosene. So I don't think it's a compromise. I think we can do both. I think we can do space research while not destroying the planet.
Yeah,
fair
and
enough.
I just want to point out that space mining could also be better for our environment, and that would require some enforcement. Maybe not necessarily as Space Force as far as like militaristic means go, but like I do think that we could use space mining beneficially for the planet.
Okay. So
I agree with
time
that.
is up. For that one, thank you for that discussion. So we will go into our elimination round. We will go into elimination round. And you will be, again, audience members, you'll be deciding who leaves and who stays. Well, you'll be have a hand in that in which way. And deciding who leaves and stays. So you're going to be voting for the one of these individuals that you want to stay. We're going to go into our final round after this, right? So you're going to be voting for who goes into that final round, right? So whoever's most interesting, knowledgeable, funny, whatever it is, whatever your criteria, you're voting for that individual. So I'm going to put the link in chat. Everyone vote. It'll be 5 minutes on the clock. Vote now, don't vote later, and no more tears about that, all right? So vote now, vote now, vote now. Link is in chat. Link is in chat. I'll put 5 minutes on the clock. And yes, please vote right this second. And yeah, we'll figure that out. But yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll just leave it alone. But Katarana, I figured you'd have an interesting feeling.
Funny.
Well, I mean, Katarana is actually working on rockets and you know, satellites and all that stuff. So I was just curious as to her opinions and all this.
Hate it. Yeah, no, I there's a lot of different things that obviously go into going ahead and further propagating space, and it just rockets are vehicles. Rockets are supposed to be used specifically for going ahead and either running tests or having payloads for launching different things. And I just kind of think of the idea of having payloadless rockets in which, you know, just kind of for the purpose of warfare.
Hold on 1 second. Ah, fuck, I hate that. Hold on, I'll gotta redo the poll. For fuck's sakes, really annoying. 1 second. My fault. I'll redo that poll. Yeah. Sorry about that. I will knock that poll out. Sorry, there's a one-man operation here doing this, but I will redo the poll, everyone. I'll redo the poll. But sorry, continue on what you were saying.
No, I don't like the idea of using the rockets launch, you know, vehicles for science and stuff for any purpose beyond that. And I just believe when you're going ahead and trying to create space weapons, it's starting. Rockets are so hard to go ahead and launch, and I just hate the idea of it being used just for weaponry, I guess.
What if but if an enemy nation had it, would you think it would be our responsibility to defend ourselves?
I think the U.S. already has a plethora of ways to defend itself, and this is just kind of like a dick measuring contest, and I prefer that we go ahead and measure our dicks and how fast we can get to Mars.
What if they had a more effective way of attacking us? Like how the nuke changed everything, right? Like what if they develop something, and something maybe you and I can't imagine right now. I'm gonna put the link back in chat. everyone. The new link. I'm pretty sure that is correct. Hopefully, but yeah. Link. There we go. Yeah. So link is in chat. Link is in chat. Everyone. 5 minutes left on the clock. Please vote. Apologies. One-man operation here. But yeah, please vote in there. And we got 5 minutes. So sorry, Katsurana.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
think that
Sorry
typically.
that you guys have to see that. Let's get through this.
I think typically.
But I guess it shows that he's not very biased.
Well, right. Oh, you have your mic on, by the way, Ninetales.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Literally that happens to me at least like twice a stream, so you're good.
I'm getting used to my hobbies.
Yeah, I think typically the U.S. has always kind of had ways of knowing, at least within recent history, of what
This
type
is
of
not the
weapons
round
are
where we win,
being.
unfortunately. but
You're
we're getting
still
there.
unmuted.
Once again,
Next
Ninetales. We can still hear.
You're good. So I feel like if there was some type of technology that was being kind of created that would be a genuine threat to the states, they would know about it going ahead and being developed, in which case I would not have as much of a objection. But I guess maybe I'm just such a purist when it comes to space, and space is just like such a beautiful thing to me that I wanted to just be used for like certain purposes, and just going ahead and like tainting space with war, just I don't know, it hurts.
Sorry, everyone. There's a second for Sansel. That's funny. There's a second link. I think some people are using the old link. Everyone, use the link that's in chat now. Not the previous link. Not the previous link. Use that one. The one I'm spamming. That would be the good one to use. All right. Yeah. So, Buckeye, like, what was your service? You were like, where did you serve exactly?
In the army for 20 years, 22 years.
Sorry, I said I didn't hear that first part.
Army.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you worked under the UN?
Yeah, when I was my very first deployment, when I was stationed in Germany, we went to Macedonia, and we were part of the United Nations forward observers down there. So I wore a blue beret, and I was a military police officer. So when I wore a brassard, it was had the it was red letters with a blue UN patch on it, and yeah. So it was interesting dynamic.
To my
matter of fact, I don't know if any of you are. I don't want to seem the old fart here, but there was an incident back in that region where a unit went across the border and they got caught, and it made national headlines. That was the actual area. It wasn't my rotation, but that was the actual area that we were in, and that's what we did.
To my chat, once again, if you voted previously in that other poll, this is a new one, so make sure you have voted. If you voted for someone previously, they don't have your vote now, so vote right now. Vote, or you will your favorite may not make it. So vote right this second, everyone. We have a minute left on the clock. Oh, and if you're new to the channel, oh, I didn't think No Deep. Thank you for using your Twitch Prime. I completely missed that. I apologize. But if you're new to the channel, enjoying this content, hit that follow button. Hit that follow button right now. Make sure notifications are on, so you know I'm going live. We do this all the time. 6 days a week we give you this content. So any which way, everyone, vote right now. Make sure that you did vote, because we have to redo the link. So jump in right now. Don't wait. And make sure you have voted. I see a lot of people are I appreciate the participation. We've had pretty strong participation tonight, so that's really good. That's really helpful. So we have only a few seconds left. Everyone, vote right this second, and then we'll be going into our final round. So time is almost up. Demand an audit. Sorry, buddy.
Wick was saying that he spent 6 years in the Air Force, And not only are there potential for physical attacks on satellites, but also cyber attacks on satellites, which is something that Space Force could also be involved in, apparently.
Okay.
That's why I put that in there.
All right. Okay, so voting is done, and the voting is very clear. Interesting. It's very interesting how these things turn out. So we'll go into our the next part of the elimination round. So at the top, it's quite annoying. But at the top we have a tie between Maddie and Mad Lad. And we're
Mad Mad.
We're mad.
Mad Mad.
Both great choices. But we need one person to be at the top here. So, all right, what game do you want me to play? Because we gotta come up with some way. Because we keep getting these ties, so we gotta come up with a way to do these things. So if not rock paper scissors, I think that was a great idea. Assuming then keep picking the same thing. If not, what do you think? So do you think me pick a number and then, but then again, it's gonna be a pain in the ass to do that. Yeah, let's go rock paper scissors.
Chess game.
Huh? No, chess game.
How about a quick chess
That'd
game?
be great. Oh, that would be great. Okay.
No.
So rock paper scissors. Unless you guys think of something else. Rock.
Honestly, this guy can only do beginner chess. I could probably take him.
Maddie, Mad Lad, rock paper scissors. DM me your results.
It's been a while since I played chess. Admittedly.
Multiple. It's 15 seconds per side. It'll go real fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. All right.
Seriously? Why? Why is everyone only picking rock? I don't care. What's happening here? Try it one more time. Or you know what? Oh, for fuck's sakes. Alright, well, anyway. Okay, well, Maddie wins because she decided to actually pick paper. Alright, I don't know. The first person, like, oh, I think I'll win. The other person's gonna pick a rock for some fucking reason. So I'll decide to win and pick paper. Good work, Maddie, right? See? Like I said, I never said Maddie's an unintelligent woman. Just, oh, okay, I'll just pick the winning move. Thank you so much. Alright. Maddie, number one, where she belongs, apparently. She proved it through her skill.
Control your cock again.
Oh, God damn it. Ninetales and Buckeye are tied for I don't know why these ties keep happening. I find them very annoying. Okay, alright.
But wait, aren't all three of us on the chopping block anyways?
No. Only two.
I was gonna say
Alright.
that I got 20 votes and I've only got 24 followers.
Okay,
I mean,
alright.
they're gonna keep him because he's no competition.
Okay, maybe one of you two will decide to win. Alright, so Fat Buckeye and Ninetales. Rock, paper, scissors, right now. The DM, quick, please. You, both of you. Two of us? Anytime.
I'm working through a blinking screen here. Hold on. I
Alright.
don't know why it's blinking.
So we have one vote. One vote in. You're both in paper. I don't know what's happening here. I feel like this should be easier. Try it again. Oh god. One more time, please. Come on. Come on. Oh, is this? Alright, I got one. Waiting for Ninetales. Go ahead. Pick it.
No, I definitely sent you a message already.
No, you didn't. The second one.
I see two messages. The first one is Keo sorry ass leaving, and
You sent me. That was the last one you sent me. Do it again.
Ryan, I don't know what to tell. I'll send another. I don't. Can I just say it? I'll just say it.
Okay.
If they've already sent theirs, it doesn't matter.
So anyway, yeah, Ninetales wins. Also choosing paper. Okay. All right. So the two people on the chopping block. I'm not sure if you're talking to us. But the two people on the chopping block are Katarana and Buckeye. All right, great. Katarana, Buckeye. This was extremely costly. I don't know why it was the old size. Katarana, Buckeye, beg, Maddie, right, and all her infinite wisdom and compassion, let her know why you should be the one to stay, not the other one. Katarana.
I guess you want me to go first? Okay, you should let me stay because my mouse is not working, so I can't even rally up my crowd. My mouse is actually dead. I've been using only insert for the last, I don't know, like hour. That's why you see me getting up and down every 5 seconds trying to find a port that works. None of them works, so I can't post on anything. All I have is a couple people in my chat to go ahead and say please vote, and there ain't that many, so you'll probably win.
Okay.
I had 13 people. Right.
Okay.
And then other than that, it's because you want to, if you want to, and if you don't, then you don't.
All right, great. Wow, what a stirring speech. All right, Buckeye.
Listen, you know you should keep me because my takes are for shit. And when we get to the end, I'm not gonna have a good. Well, is it the last one? What's this last subject? I don't even know what the last subject is. That's why you should take me because I don't know what I'm gonna say. I got nothing prepared, and of my 20 votes, I don't even know where those 20 votes came from. I got 24 followers, only 6 of them are in my page.
Maddie, please DM me and shatter someone's dreams, please. Go ahead.
I hate this. I hate this one because it's just me.
It's
quickly.
What?
If I am kicked off, you'll have to go ahead and remove me.
I'm looking forward to it. So.
Okay, great. You'll even have to like remove me from this too, like on the
Don't worry,
click
we
yard.
got you. Well, okay. All right. Well, Katarana. You won't have to worry about leaving because Buckeye's kids cannot save you. Buckeye.
Your kids are so cute, but I want you to put them to bed.
She feels guilty. She's like. Buckeye, thank you for joining us. It's been a blast getting to know you. Thanks for stopping by. Last words for the audience. Buckeye.
Last words for the audience. Well, this is what I've got for the audience. My 24 followers that were in your chat, they can still follow me. I don't care. Listen, you can find me at Fat Buckeye 76 on Twitch TV or whatever it is. Come on over. I really don't talk politics. I just sit there and mess around with stuff. Right now I'm learning calculus and computer science class, trying to learn some Java code. Yeah, I saw it. Look at her eyes get big. She's like, he's learning calculus? What? Yeah.
Please let me help you with calculus. Oh my god.
Hey, anytime.
Yes.
I'll hit you up. I just hit you with a follow. I don't know why I wasn't following you before because I like some of your takes on here anyway. So, but yeah. So
I'll help you.
Look for me to drop through the chats. Maddie will tell you I drop through chats and I drop subs here and there. Come to my channel, give me some follows. Let me start making some money on this so I can push it back out to the other content creators, the other streamers, because I'm not doing this for money. I'm just doing this for, some fun and some extra stuff to do. But yeah, come on by and check us out. And go Bucks.
Go Bucks. All right. Thanks so much for being around. All right. And this is bicep. Great. Anyway, Trey. All right. So we're going.
Pretty sure he brought those out too late.
Sorry. What? What'd you say?
I'm pretty like if he would have done it like Hans or like Kyo does, like right off the bat, they're like, "I'm strong, vote for me."
Oh yeah.
That would have worked.
That actually does
He didn't
work.
bring it out until he had
That's
lost.
true.
No, I was showing my tattoo.
Oh, okay.
I ain't got no muscles. I'm fat Buckeye, not muscle Buckeye.
Oh, there you go. Fair enough. All right. So, all right. Final round. We will. It'll be 15 minutes on the clock, and the final question is: since Japan is dealing with yet another wave of COVID infections, should the upcoming Tokyo Olympics be boycotted by other nations for safety concerns? Okay, 15 minutes left on the clock, and this is for all the marbles. Go ahead.
So this one's like really complicated because everybody's kind of saying that the crisis is over and they're just moving on with their lives. So really the question is, should we avoid it? Yes, but at the same time, we're kind of not avoiding anything. So I don't see the Tokyo Olympics actually getting canceled for this.
But avoidance isn't the only thing, right? Like if we keep the case count down, that'll still be better in the long term than not. So like if we can show that like the Olympics are a risk of the case count increasing, then obviously if we don't want that, then we don't want the Olympics.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is now that they're saying the vaccine, vaccinated folks, and I'm assuming all the competitors are going to be vaccinated. They're saying that vaccinated folks don't spread COVID. But it's been going back and forth, so I'm not 100% sure on
Well,
this.
they're going to be able to spread.
There's lower
like, they're not
risk.
going to be shedding
but yeah.
because, like, they're shedding a minimal amount because their immune system's going to tackle it before the viral load increases. But in a net population, we want to keep the viral load as low as possible because if we get too many mutations, then people who are vaccinated no longer really are as significant as when we don't have as many mutations. So we want to keep up the significance of vaccinations by not increasing the viral load of a population and thus the mutations.
Right. And I generally agree with you in principle. My take here is that they probably should cancel it, but they're not going to cancel it.
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, first of all, like it's from I think they're going to get a lot of pressure from, it's too bad because a lot of the like people look at the Olympics as like, oh, but they would want to make money, but it actually does not make much. But there are certain interests from the global sponsors. So my first job in like the real world, I worked in professional sports, and the Olympics, as you can imagine, is massive in the sports world, especially for corporate sponsors. They don't necessarily have final say, but they have massive influence because while the Olympics aren't really profitable for the host country, in fact, normally it's a net negative. They're extremely profitable and lucrative for massive sponsors like Coca-Cola and Visa and these other things. So I would think they're probably applying whatever pressure they can. But I agree with you guys. Like even though vaccinations help, it's not going to matter until we reach herd immunity, and we haven't. So like even if we were to let the Olympics move forward, it runs the risk of increasing the infection rate. And I don't know. What
By the
right
way,
answer is.
Maddie, the Olympics like are not profitable in a macroeconomical sense where we're like considering like the whole like market. But when we divide it into like the government putting money into this, so that way the Olympics can be hosted, and then the small businesses getting money because there's more business to be had. And we can see like a microeconomic scale that it is quite profitable for the people who are like business holders, but just not profitable for the government, which like it's kind of how government spending works anyway. So I'm kind of okay with that.
To a certain degree, yes, I agree. Because for local
It puts
businesses,
pressure on like city officials that often isn't fair to them, is what I've heard.
that and the similar to the World Cup, the Olympic Committee has a list of like requirements that they need, that the host company needs to provide in order to let the Olympics be hosted there. And there's been some controversy on like one of the recommendations, like, oh, we want to be able to have a meet and greet with the head of state with whatever. And like there's just like a lot of things that maybe are one might call sketchy or like, but I agree with you. I think when you take into account the amount of capital that then flows into like wherever these games are hosted, and the local businesses who are profiting, I that's totally fair.
Spectators, though, right? I thought the spectators weren't allowed. It was just going to be the athletes, right? So like there'll be like an influx of
If they,
wealth
if
from
they
those
do
folks,
it,
but
if they do it like the NBA did it, where they're like inside the bubble and they like strictly enforce rules for like you have to be inside the athlete bubble, I think there's the potential to be able to have the Olympics and have it be like as safe as possible. But it's just going to be hard because I feel like even if they say, oh, only athletes are allowed, it's just so hard to enforce. And I feel, and then all you need is one
well, no, I
person
thought they were
who's
only
not supposed to be
allowing.
there, you know?
I thought Japan was only welcoming the athletes. I didn't think they were welcoming spectators from other countries to watch. Like, there's no. I didn't
But
think
I'm
the
saying
elite.
even people in Japan, because that was the point of the question, right? Is that cases in Japan are increasing. So
Right.
even people who are there, maybe someone like gets into like Olympic Village or whatever. And that's what I'm saying is like if it were true like a bubble in the same way that the NBA had their playing bubble at the height of COVID, I think that makes me feel a bit more optimistic about the Olympics. However, even then, a number of athletes that are there and having to keep all of them contained, that I don't know if I think at scale, if that is going to be as successful.
I don't know if it's going to be a successful thing. I just think it's going to be run anyway. Like, I don't see the Japanese officials saying, "Oh no, we shouldn't do this," because everybody else is starting up their stuff.
So I don't personally, but do you have any idea of how serious Japan was about the pandemic when it started? Like, did they take lots of
Mhm.
action? Did they keep it down? Because if they did, then I feel like that would also like reflect on how they would feel about the Olympics.
They did a really
Hey,
good job in the initial part. I'm sorry, Katarani, you go. I've been talking.
yeah, actually, I had an audio issue, so I'm actually on my phone right now for the audio. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I
I
think a big part of the Olympics is really to allow people to come in, and a lot of the way that they go ahead and recuperate costs is via the tourist fees. Though Japan is the type of country that isn't necessarily going to be bleeding like the way that Brazil was as a result of not getting tourism. I think it's probably not I wouldn't say boycott, but I would really hope that they consider pushing it back further because a really integral part of having an Olympics is allowing people to come and see your country for what it is. And honestly, I did check out to see what their COVID spike is, and like at least within Tokyo, really it's not too bad. But yeah, I do say that. I think it would be really wise on them to just push it back. And I know it's unfortunate for whoever's involved in the Olympics, but the Olympics isn't just for the athletes.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
my argument to Mad Lad would be like if they already took this seriously and they obviously probably don't want to fuck it up after like doing well after so many years. I don't know if they're still doing well, but if they're not, then they don't want it worse. So I don't see like why that would change just simply for the Olympics. Like we've so many countries and so many other things have like turned down major events. Just because like this is a slightly more elite and rare event, I don't think that necessarily like changes everything. Also,
So
is there like any ruling that says that like it can't like go back to Japan after the pandemic's done?
right. So I mean, they already pushed this back a year. So like, obviously, if they pushed it back again, they would just do it next year, and it would be in Japan anyway. There's
Mhm.
two things that we can add to this conversation. Current polls in Japan.
But let's not
Oh,
forget, there's just so for the conversation. Remember, next year are the Winter Olympics, right?
Mhm.
So yeah,
winter in the
pushing it back,
Olympics
and then
time.
and just so
Yeah.
you know, like it was so difficult to push back this time because literally billions of dollars were lost doing it last time. Like it's like not like an easy thing just to move back and forth. And in terms of the TV,
Right.
like because like
Oh, TV rights.
yeah,
Yeah,
TV
it's
rights, reserving those rights. They had to like cancel all of that, right? Those contracts, and then push it back again, and then it's almost impossible for these TV stations to juggle these things as well. So I'm just letting you know it's a lot of cost to these things, not just like move it back for a few weeks and you're good.
Also,
But
also next year is supposed to be the World Cup as well. So
Right.
if we have 2 Olympics and the
Well,
World Cup,
I'm
that's gonna
honestly,
be-
I'm honestly not factoring in costs because like the pandemic
Mm.
has shown that like monetary costs is not what's gonna like, change things. So like if let's say like money isn't wasted, but you get like that your population infected because you hosted those Olympics, that's still gonna cost you more in the long run
That's still not
anyways.
true though.
So
Like economically
as
speaking,
far as sorry, as well, like unless you're in America where people have to pay for their own healthcare, but like as far as like government incentive goes, I think governments have a much greater incentive to keep their populations healthy than to host the Olympic Games.
but I'm
Yeah.
saying like in some
Yeah.
of the states we've been reopening like and removing all our mask mandates because we want this thing to be over to start the whole economic engine. So Japan has to deal with that sort of idea. I know that Japan isn't the United States and Japan doesn't have the same issues with the United States. In fact, in Japan, 70% of the people don't want the Olympics to actually happen, but Japan has been insisting for the last several months that there will be no question that the Olympics will be held this summer and the schedule is going to be fixed. So I guess it depends. This is in 2 months. And the way these waves go, usually there's a spike and then there's a drop. So like mathematically speaking, the emergency in Japan will probably be over by the time the Olympics are happening anyway, right? Like,
Well, let's hope that let's hope the vaccination rate in not only like among the athletes but also in Japan does well, because the one reason that Japan did really well, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, was because the government was quick to institute a mask mandate, and there was like, unlike in the United States where there was resistance to the mask, any sort of like mask requirement, you didn't find that in Japan. So it is remarkable, especially because Japan has a much older, like aging population, and they live a lot more densely on average than other countries, and yet they actually fared pretty well. So like that's to their credit, but that doesn't mean that they are immune from a resurgence of COVID, especially when it's not just the athletes who are going to be coming in to the country for the Olympics. It's also all the trainers, coaches, coaching staff. Like there are so many more factors there. And then for people, even if you say, oh, but it's the athletes, there won't be any spectators, there are still other people from the general population who are going to be in those facilities. So people, people who work the facilities, all the like referees and judges, all the people who are part of camera crews for the media who are covering the event, which is substantial and worldwide. So you're having people come not only from places where vaccinations are widespread, but also from countries and areas where they don't necessarily have the same access to vaccines. So I think it's so hard because, and maybe I'm still dealing with some PTSD from last year, but when I look at like, oh yeah, they should have it under control by that time, it should be fine, I'm like, I have flashbacks to when I kept saying that last year and it wasn't fine. So I'm hesitant to like.
I've got some
I'm hesitant.
statistics. Guess how many what the percentage of Japanese folk who are actually vaccinated right now is?
What is it? What
What
is
is
it?
All right, over under 10%. Guess.
Oh, well, I don't like this game.
Yeah, it's obviously under, or else you wouldn't be doing this. Like,
Okay,
just say
cool.
it. Holy
How about
fuck.
under? All right, fine. Jeez,
I
you're so
can't say
impatient.
time for nonsense.
1.2%.
But okay.
It is actually
Okay,
the
so
least vaccinated
I-
country out of most of the industrialized world. I'm looking at this list, and like the next on this list is 2.9% from India, and then you've got Brazil at 7%. Oh, Indonesia is 3.3. So basically, Japan is the least vaccinated country out of like a big long list of countries here. And yeah, I guess the concern is
How many countries
Japanese
are on that list? I have to know.
like 1,
That's
2, 3, 4,
about
5. I don't know. It's like 20. Like I'll just post what I'm looking at in
Okay, obviously they wouldn't be the
Discord.
lowest if it was a much
Yeah,
broader
it's
list. I'm just gonna
like
point that out.
right. The industrialized like countries that
Yeah.
are on this list are Yeah. So
And
Japan's
like,
not
here's
very
the thing,
vaccinated.
though, is like
Will they be
Japan's
vaccinated?
vaccination rates mean very little if you actually start bringing other people who aren't vaccinated into the country.
Well, I mean,
And like,
apparently, Japan's vaccination percentage is not going to matter because they're not vaccinated whatsoever. So, like, all these other people are going to be more vaccinated than they
I don't
are.
know how many countries participate. I feel like it's more than 20 though, and I feel like some of
It's a
those countries
lot.
are going to be less vaccinated in Japan, which is going to be like a much greater health hazard. So sorry, it does matter. I just mean
They
like,
limited the number of people, countries participating too, though.
sorry, I
Didn't they?
probably took your argument for no apparent reason on like the basis that like Japan should do the games because they're not well vaccinated anyways. I don't know why. I'm getting busy focusing on my chat too. So
No, I'm
yeah,
not
in
saying that at
general,
all. I'm just
it
saying
does
this-
matter. It does matter, but it can only be like a negative thing where like, it only makes them more vulnerable to this sort of thing.
Right. I agree. I
Right.
think Japan is more vulnerable than like.
I'm getting panel brain, okay?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. The brainworms are hitting us. But yeah, so Japan's pretty vulnerable. They probably should cancel. And the question is, will they do that or will they let
Well,
economics
I
take
guess
pressure?
it's all just a compromise, is it not? So basically, they have to go ahead and decide: are they okay with having it be something that's done? And with that, they'll go ahead and have the Olympics, but no one will come, and it'll just be something that's televised. In which case, they lose a lot of money, but at least we can go ahead and have the Olympics. Or is it more important to them that they go ahead and recuperate their funds? Because I'm sure, especially when you're going ahead and having the Olympic athletes, they'll be vaccinated. You can make it quite easy that at least your Olympic athletes will be vaccinated, so you don't need to worry about them going ahead and transmitting it. But yeah, it's just all about, are you okay with not getting the all the tourism that you were supposed to go ahead and get?
Either way.
So that's the buzzer. That's the buzzer. Okay, all right. So we are going to go into our final elimination round, right? And remember, this elimination round, not elimination round. This is not elimination round. We're picking the winner. We're picking the winner. So you're going to be voting for whoever wins the whole thing. All right, voting for the winner here. So vote for whoever was the best, most entertaining, the funniest, most fascinating individual here. Vote for that person or vote just because you like them. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But vote for that individual. You're going to have 5 minutes on the clock. All right. Again, if you were here last week, there's a lot of crying about this. All right. So simply, if you want to avoid all this, it's just no drama. Simply vote within the 5-minute time limit. All right. I've quadruple checked the poll, so it should be good. It should be good. Yeah, everyone, 5 minutes left on the clock. Do it. Vote. Link is in chat. Vote right now. Don't vote later. And complain at me. So 5 minutes left on the clock. If you've been enjoying this content, then everyone, follow the channel. Let's give these individuals, I should have done this before. Let's give these individuals 30 seconds, be quick about it, as to why you should be kept around, be the winner. So we'll go to Maddie.
So I have been consistently based today, and I've tried my hardest. I brought my dog to say hello briefly. And I wore
cheating. This is an unfair
dress.
contest.
Come on, let her finish. Be
You're
quick.
right. Okay, scratch the dog mark. You're right. No. Objection. That's sustained. I would love your vote. And even if you don't vote for me, I had so much fun. Everyone else on this panel is fucking great and are awesome and so smart and so fun to talk to. So
Okay.
you can't go wrong.
Great, Maddie.
But Maddie.
Vote for Maddie.
I had a blast. Thanks for having me again, Prime. It was awesome. I really enjoyed talking to everyone. I just want to point out that despite Ninetales being a statistician at heart, I was the only one looking up statistics. Everybody else was offering opinions on this and that, and thus you should vote for me because I was looking for credible evidence and changing my mind based on other people's...
Okay, great, thank you. All right, Ninetales.
All right, well,
Vote for me because I'm the best debater, and I don't waste your time looking up statistics when we can just talk about shit.
All right, Colorado, why should people vote for you?
I'm very dedicated. My entire stream has gone to shit, and I'm still here on my phone having this conversation. Also, it would help me probably because people would come over and I can buy a new mouse. Because I think I'm going to be streaming for the next 48 hours because I can't end my stream.
Okay. All right, that'll work. Hi, everyone. The link is in the chat. Vote for these individuals. We have 3 minutes left on the clock. Vote for these amazing individuals. Definitely, we're going to have a winner. Hopefully it's not a fucking tie again. Holy shit. I don't know why that keeps happening. It's weird.
Just asking for a tie. I'm just all right. It's fine. I'm making that joke one more time.
But yeah, everyone vote right this second. The link is in chat. Been spamming it. You should see it. Vote right this second. Yeah, some of the people have been talking about in chat that, like, I don't know, your phone audio works pretty well, Katarana, as compared to your mic. Really? Well, yeah, because your mic has an issue where, like, you turn your head slightly away, it like screws up. But yeah,
no one ever tells me anything.
I told you that multiple times.
Oh, but you don't count.
Okay, all right.
I'm happy it works well. I thought it was going to be really, really bad. People were going to not hear a single thing, so at least you can hear me.
Yeah. And we're happy that you could be a part of it. Thank you, Ugly Pie, for being so kind as to gift 1,000 bits. Across slides 1,000 bits across the table. I think you know who to give the crown to. Okay. Nice.
Is the 1,000 bits to buy me a new mouse?
All right. So let's go. Vote. We have 90 seconds left on the clock. Everyone, vote right this second. Among these 4 incredible individuals, vote now, right? Because someone's going to be in tears later. Oh, I did vote. Your count is different from mine. Yeah, I know, because I refreshed, and I'm not going to refresh again afterwards. So if you did not vote, then that's your fault, not my fault. So vote right now. The link is in chat. Use this opportunity. Be a part of it. There are a lot of good choices here, a lot of amazing choices. Curious if Maddie will take the crown once again, right? She dominated in the past, right? I feel like you weren't much of a gracious winner. You definitely. I mean, at the time, I know. I mean, it was good. Like, you crushed the competition, and you were miming. It was good. No, I mean, you were great.
Oh, can I just say really quickly that I'm sorry for missing like the first little part. I saw everybody talking, and I was just sitting there like sad for a bit. So yeah, sorry I didn't get to participate as much as I wanted to for this round. Like suddenly, like my audio just went out, and I was like, "What?" I was so freaked out. Yeah.
So just seconds left on the clock. And we will decide the winner, the ultimate winner. All right. So let's take a look. Oh, I want to stop the music here. And yeah. Okay. Dramatic music. Oh man. Let's take a look. It's in a book. All right. Looking for the Stream Queen. Wow. How does this happen all the time? I don't understand how the final round works here. I've been doing it. I've been here the entire time. I'm the only one who's been part of all of these. And I tell you now, I don't understand how the final round works. Any which way. So we're reading off from the bottom to the top, right? And again, if you didn't vote before, that's your problem, not my problem. From the bottom to the top, we have Katarana. Audio has foiled you once again. But maybe next time, friend. You came close. Once again, in the final round, so you're a very strong competitor, Katarana, and I always enjoy having you around. But yeah, that's where you stand. Next person, is Ninetales. I don't know. You were so close. Ninetales needs. I need to come up with like a second title for like most the one with the greatest perseverance, because Ninetales keeps coming back and keeps participating, and like she gives it 140% every time. Ninetales. That's.
I asked people to like delete me from the panel, Prime. But
Reverse
no,
psychology.
I was gonna say, congratulations to the virtue signaling
Don't say
petition.
anything, please. Don't like. I don't know how you did this last time. Don't do that. All right, so thank you, Ninetales. All right, moving on. So among the two winners, right? The two fantastic individuals, right? And only one can get the top. Only one can win.
Can we do like a pretend hand-holding thing, like
Yes,
they do
do
in the
that.
bathroom? Like just like
Maddie.
I'm reaching my Maddie. Can you put your left hand out and like even it out with? Yep. All right, we're holding hands.
Okay. All right. Well then. It's good that Maddie is gracious this time, because she's gracious. And her loss, Mad Lad, is our new stream queen. Isn't she beautiful? Mad Lad, we're so happy that you've done it.
Guys.
Yeah, Mad Lad, you crushed
I really
it.
appreciate it.
She's beauty and she's grace.
Mad
I
Lad.
really appreciate it.
Wow, this is amazing.
There's a big ol'. Let me just. I'm gonna. You guys are great. I really appreciate it. Like I don't know what to say. I don't know. Words hard. Thank you. I love you all, as it says here. Thanks. Yeah. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to talk trash?
You can if you want. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
I don't know.
You're the winner. You can do what you want.
If I play the Michigan like fight song with that like upset Buckeye, I feel like Hail to the victor.
Let's see if we can. Hold on.
Aw.
1 second. Let's see if
I
we can.
appreciate it.
There we go. Hold on. Here we are.
Oh,
wow.
Okay, the winner.
Look at that.
So,
Oh my glory.
Look at
so
that.
beautiful. And so kind. Thank you all for helping come up with the stream queen. And just so you all know, of course, the content doesn't end there. We have more content coming your way. We are going to also have a walk on panel, right? So the content does not end. We'll have more for you. So stick around. We have more content coming your way. But we're going to give everyone, these amazing individuals, an outro. So, Katarana, final words to the panel, and if you can.
Oh my god, I can't do it on my own channel, but Leo just gave me $242. Thank you so
Oh wow.
Thank you a lot.
Okay, well someone actually won.
Okay, well now I have a new mouse. Okay. I'm gonna probably go do a cry. Thank you for having me on again. I'm sorry really about about the audio issues, and I'm sorry the people that are on my channel yet can't hear anything about the audio issues. So hopefully they're watching on your channel too. And thank you for having me on. Tomorrow we have a debate on my channel because Prime won't be here. So you can come hang out with us. We're gonna be doing British parliamentary style, where you have a whip and you have government and you have a couple of seconds, like you have a 7-minute speech, no one can cut you off, and there you actually have judges. So we'll have a panel of judges that are all presidents of their different schools debate societies. So it's very, very non-partial. Impartial. So if anyone ever wants to come on, well, I think we'll be doing this more often. So come to my Discord, and if you like my stuff, come through. And thank you again for having me.
Thanks so much. Okay. Next, Ninetales, who is an incredible sport. Ninetales, who keeps coming back and doing an amazing job here, and we certainly absolutely appreciate her. Do you have any final words to the audience?
Okay, so I'm sure you heard all the things about the virtue signaling statistician who wastes your time, just that way they can provide statistics that didn't even help very much. No, I love it though. I love it. Like I'm not brave enough to try to look for statistics while I'm also trying to like be entertaining to people. So good for you, actually. As far as like winning this in the future, obviously, because this is my first week streaming and it's already been phenomenal. If this is my first week, then I can only imagine what's gonna come. I honestly like. I feel horrible, Kat. Like it's like the best week forever for me, and then like your stream just like goes to poop, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of the way things go.
Well, it's not fair, and I'm glad someone helped you out because I was going to help you out if they didn't. But oh, that probably sounded like I was just jerking myself off, but I wasn't.
No one thought that. No one thought that.
No, you're good.
But Nine
Well,
Tails,
you did.
yeah.
That was very keen of you. I'm Nine Tails Cosmic Fox. I have a Twitter, which I can't actually. Maybe I can while I'm talking. I'm going to post that into chat. Someone can also shout me out if they want. Oh, they did. Okay, great. So my Twitter is probably like the best way to keep track of what I'm doing because when I start, now that I have a good computer, I can edit finally. And when I can edit, I can upload videos. And when I upload videos, they're going to be damn good. They're going to be everything ranging from video essays to like former debates and just general reviews of stuff that I do on stream. So keep track of that. And other than that, definitely if you haven't checked out Katarana, check her out. Her stream's amazing, and I'm basically like indebted to her for as long as I'm a streamer.
Oh, no pressure.
So sweet.
We love to see that. Love to see it. Love to see the good sportsmanship. Maddie, thank you for coming through. Look, it wasn't your time this time. But Maddie, we hope and dream to have you once again wear the crown. You, you are one of our favorite people.
We'll see.
Maddie. But thank you seriously for coming back always and being part of all of this. I always enjoy having you here. You're always so much fun. Yeah, Maddie.
Thank you. Yeah, like this was super fun. Thank you for having me. Obviously, I mean, if you look at Mad Lad wears the crown so well. So I'm glad that it's sitting on someone worthy of it. I'm also so glad that there's someone else who's just as obsessed with the book series that I've been reading as Mad Lad is. So maybe we'll do a future stream where we should dedicate it to the Stormlight Archive and just nerd out and debate like theories and whatever. But I need to get through the fourth book. But this needs to happen.
I'm super down.
This was wonderful. Yeah, no, this was so great. Thank you again for having me, Prime. I love your streams. I love being on your panels, and the quality of people that you get for these panels is second to none. Everyone's awesome here. So my Twitch was shared in chat. I also just posted my Twitter. My Instagram is the same username as my Twitter. So and Twitter's probably where you can find me most of the time. I'm most active there. But yeah, thank you again. This was super fun. And we'll see. I mean, I don't feel entitled to a crown. I know that I have to earn it. So I look forward to hopefully earning it another time.
A real queen is a queen whether there's a crown on her head or not, right? So
Oh, Prime, do you mind really quickly before Mad Lad goes, so I don't take away any of his shine, that I just quickly say, I'm gonna post a link in chat as well for the Black Legal Action Fund. So I know I forgot to talk about it earlier, but if you go ahead and donate to this fund, it means a lot, and it helps Black people in Canada that need to go ahead and get extra trials and stuff actually get the help that they need. So I'm just going to put it in chat.
Absolutely, please, everyone, check out that link that Katarana has just added there in chat. Let's help out this cause, helping out people who are incarcerated. As we all know, that's a difficult problem here in the States, apparently also in Canada as well. So if you can, you have the extra dollars, please help out Katarana's very worthy cause. Thank you, Katarana. All right, Mad Lad, you have done it. You have done it. So Mad Lad, tell the world where they can find a winner.
Thanks. So you can find me on twitch.tv/madlad_n. I have a website which is just madladn.com. Thanks for the follow. I also have a chess business, so I teach folks how to play chess professionally. My company is called HypeChess, so you can go to hypechess.com, go to our contact form, sign up for a free trial for a class, or just sign up for classes if you want. They run on Sunday nights from 8 p.m. till 10 p.m. So yeah, if you're interested, feel free to register, do the free trial. There's probably a cap, so probably up to 8 people can sign up for a trial right now. But just, hit me up if there's enough demand. I can always set up a new class. So yeah.
Okay. Thanks. So
Is that good?
yeah, no, that was great. This is fantastic. Yeah, everyone, please, yeah, check out his business. Once again, I'm one day I will do that because I'm hot garbage at. Well, I'm not hot. I just haven't had the practice, So I will.
Everybody can work on it.
Yeah, I'd love to actually not be terrible at chess. Something I really wanted to do. Know how to do since I was a kid, but just never had the opportunity. But Matt Ladd is providing you with an avenue there, so hit him up. And I'm assuming he put his link in chat because he knows how to advertise his own business, right? I
do.
Okay. So we are going to roll on into our open walk-on panel right after this. Any of these amazing individuals can join us, probably except for Katarana, because she's having issues, big issues. But for the rest of you, who will be able to actually leave this studio without me forcibly ejecting them.
If you could actually leave the video up for me, it will be helpful. So people that are watching me that are trying to help, I'm gonna hop into Discord with them. So just so that they can see I'm still alive.
Okay, all right,
Otherwise,
I will leave it up. Okay, sure, no problem.
Aw.
yeah, leave me here. Thank you.
Okay,
You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna get it.
So anyone here is welcome to join us on an open walk-on panel, but if not, that's okay. You can spend your time, your energy, your passion, and your knowledge with my community. I know they appreciate you as much as I do. Have a good one, everyone. Bye. All right.